We are going live. Nobody's going to be here yet, so I am just talking to the air. But here is the vlogging screen. Can you see it? That I'm using. This is a selfie mode, so that way when I'm like this, I don't know if you can see it. So here, let's do it like that. You can see that it's actually pretty cool. Oh, and this is one of my favorite tripods too. I have two favorite tripods that I'm using. So this one is a little taller one, and it's got the little gimbal attachment here. So this is what we're using for the live, and we're going to be doing sourdough, and we're going to be talking a lot about starters, and we're going to get this stuff together. I just wanted to go on a few seconds early. Not that anybody's really going to be trying to get on exactly when we're here, so I get to figure out what's going on, and yay, I'm excited. Gotta wash my hands, gotta wash my hands. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, let me see. I want to put this down so we can actually see more. Okay, let's try that. I need to get this situated. Maybe a little bit more down. Maybe just pointing down. Just pointing down a little bit. I want it to be able to see the... That's a little bit better. Maybe, yeah, that's better. Hey guys, I am doing sourdough. We're doing vanilla. We've got some things going. Stick with me. I'm gonna be here for about 2 hours, but we're gonna start mostly with sourdough, and we're gonna talk a lot about the starters and how to get your starters going. So I encourage anybody who's been wanting to do sourdough to stick around, because we're gonna also make a loaf of sourdough, and I'm gonna show you what you can do to make your life easier with sourdough, because honestly, I am not one of those people who sits there and feeds their sourdough daily and starter daily and all that. I don't do any of that junk. That is just too much work for me, and I only make 1 or 2 loaves of bread a week. When I was doing the kind of traditional way of doing the sourdough starter, my starter was getting big and I was making so much bread, I was getting big. Well, I am big, but I was getting really, really big from it. So now I'm 1 or 2 loaves a week, share half a loaf with my next door neighbors and friends, and that's what we're doing. So today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with is we're going to start talking about the starters. And one of the things that I did was I purchased some starter from TikTok shop. And the reason I purchased some starter from the TikTok shop was because it is an easy way for you to start your starter. My original starter, which is in this baby right here, this one I fed last night. My original starter I did on my own, and I made some mistakes along the way. And so as I was going and learning the journey, I found out that you don't need to start it yourself. So what I am going to show you, excuse my bottles, I was getting ready for you guys to learn about vanilla. So vanilla's next. If you're interested in vanilla extract and other extracts, I've got just a partial set of my collection. So I went onto the TikTok shop and I found somebody who's selling their dried starter. So what you can do is you can take the starter when it's active like this, when it's bubbly. So I fed it here, and it rose to here, and it's going down. But when it's right in this really active bubbly state, lay a thin layer on a parchment sheet or on your dehydrator sheet and dehydrate it. And then you can use a food processor to process it. Now, I tried it the first time. I tried to just dry it like in the air. Do not do that. I tried putting it, because it just, essentially it will attract gnats, and also anything that's in your house is going to get in there. So I didn't want to do that. So I tried putting it in the oven and with the light on. Tried it without the light on, and either way, the oven was trapping the moisture and causing the starter to go. It was gross. It just didn't, and it never fully dried up. And it just took days, and it just was not something that I would want to use. I tried the toaster oven again, it was just moisture. So what ended up happening is because it's sealed, all that moisture would go onto the doors, and it just never got dried. So borrowed my sister's dehydrator, and I did a bunch of it, and I turned it into this. I didn't get to make it super fine. You can see on the bottom it's super fine. I just kind of got tired of blending it. So I wanted to, since I don't sell my starter, I wanted to see if anybody on TikTok Shop has a good starter. And I'm going to pin the one I used. And I tried, essentially 2 days ago on Thursday evening, I took 5 grams of the starter that I purchased. So this is the 5 grams that I purchased. And I essentially I followed the process. I kind of changed their process a little bit, but I'll explain that. So you do at first is you just kind of essentially hydrate it with some water. And you just let that sit just so that it hydrates. And then you mix in some water and flour, similar to your regular starter. And then I let it go overnight. And then yesterday morning, I fed it. And I did it with my starter and with my dried starter and with the TikTok Shop starter. And so today is only after doing the initial hydration and putting in the flour and water, and then yesterday doing a feed, so the first feed. And so actually, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is the one from the TikTok Shop, and it's really, really already active, better than mine. So this one is the TikTok Shop one, and this one is mine. So their process for drying the starter was way better than mine. And so I can confidently say, just looking at this right now, this is really good product. You want to start sourdough, this is the easiest way. I cannot tell you how easy this is. So, and if you guys have questions, please put them in chat, or if you have comments. I'm trying to get TikTok to like what I'm doing, and there's a little challenge right now. You have to get like 5 comments or some comments and certain number of likes and taps on the screen. So if you can, just be nice to me. I appreciate it. So this one is my starter, and theirs went way higher than mine. So I can confidently say now that this one, the TikTok Shop one, they're from the Kenny House. And no, I purchased this on my own. I did not do any, I didn't do any free samples or anything. This is 100% on my own. So they sell them in different sizes, 5 grams to, this one's 20 grams. And they have 2 types. They have a regular and a rye. Rye is going to be usually considered a stronger starter, easier for some people in terms of it's much more active. So if you're ever having trouble with your starter being sluggish, it's really recommended to use some rye flour in your starter to kind of make it happier and active. So this is, I've never done the rye starter, so I thought I'll try some rye starter. And I got this because I wanted to just see how they packaged it. And these are really inexpensive. It starts at, I don't know, $1, something like that. I didn't spend much more than $5, $6 on these 3 packets. Great way to start. So the reason why I wanted to see is because when you're doing the sourdough starter, you don't want to start with a lot because you're kind of doubling it, and then you don't want to have to throw stuff out. That's called discard. You don't want to have to discard if you don't have to. So the process that I'm going to show you today is what I like to do, so that way you don't have to discard so much, especially in the beginning. So we're talking right now about dried starter, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about doing the starter on your own and why starting with the dried starter is just much better. So I'm going to just show you real quick how to hydrate this starter, and we're going to that's what we're going to do. So we're going to hydrate the starter, and this is called the Kenny House on the TikTok Shop. And So if you do the 20-gram one, that'll give you the ability to, if something goes wrong with your starter, restart it, and you'll have 4 full starters in here. So you only need 5 grams to get going, and that's really not that much. So the instructions are a little bit off for me, and so I kind of wrote down what I thought. So it comes in a packet, and here it is. Hey guys, I'm doing sourdough starter. Stick around, sourdough starter. Let's get some people on here. Come on, let's get some people on here. Okay, so I'm just gonna pour this in, and I weighed the last one to make sure that it was good. So this one is a little darker than this one. You can see the color difference. This one's lighter and this one's darker. This is because this is the rye. So we're gonna start that, and I'm gonna grab some water, and I do not do filtered water. Okay. I don't do filtered water. I am not, I don't worry about the filtered water for me. I have pretty clean water, not any chlorine or not much chlorine in it. So I zeroed my, I don't know if you guys can see it. Probably not visible. I zeroed this out, and so now what I'm gonna do, okay, I gotta actually see it myself. So, all right, zeroed it out. And so all I'm gonna do is add 5 grams of water. Now, you can choose to just do a tablespoon and just hydrate it that way. That's fine, but what we're trying to do is get an exact amount, so that way when we feed it on the next time, which is in 30 minutes, we're just gonna let it set for 30 minutes. When we feed it, we'll actually know what our ratio is. So I'm just gonna do it slowly because it really isn't that much. See, that's already almost 5 grams, just a teaspoon. There we go, that's 5 grams. So all I'm doing is just getting it wet, okay? And then we're gonna set it aside. So, like I said, this starter is, and then we're gonna set it aside. So, like I said, this starter is so easy, doing it from dried. You can have a loaf of bread in 5 days, 4 to 5 days, when you're using this starter method. So typically when you're doing a starter from scratch, you essentially flour, water, mix it, let it sit for a day, flour, water, let it sit for a day. And the traditional method that people tell you is actually inaccurate. So please, if you really are interested in sourdough starter, take one note, is that the discarding half and then adding the exact amount that you did before, you're gonna, it's gonna start growing because you're doing 1 part starter, 1 part flour, 1 part water, and half is 1.5 of your original parts. So if you started with 50 grams of each, you're gonna wind up, when you discard half, with 75 grams. And then you're gonna go, oh, I'm gonna put just back in 50 grams. Well, now you're not putting in enough flour and water to actually feed it. So you're gonna wind up with a lot different of a, you're gonna wind up, 1, it's not gonna ever really get truly active because it doesn't have enough. And 2, your starter, this was the mistake I made, my starter started growing and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So what you really wanna do, you're doing starter from scratch. This is all we're talking about right now because we've got this other one we're gonna do. Set timer for 30 minutes. So what you do is you take your, say you do 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water, stir it up, then you can go discard 50 grams, right? Because that's what you started with. And then you're gonna do 50 grams of starter, 50 grams of water, 50 grams of flour. Okay, let it go for a day, discard down to 50 grams. And that's what you do. You go discard down to 50. And when you go down to 50, now what you're saying is, okay, 50, now you're back up to 150 grams. And you continue to do that. The other method that I prefer, if you're gonna start it, is really start small. So don't go with the higher volume. So you can actually start at 5 grams, and you do 5 and 5. So now you have 10 grams. So you start with 5 grams of water, 5 grams of flour, similar to what we have here. So we have 5 grams of water and 5 grams of the starter, right? And then on your next feed, you can do 10 grams of flour and 10 grams of water because that's what you had. You had 5 and 5 is 10. So now you're going to do another 10 grams of water and 10 grams of flour. Now you're at 30 grams total. And this is what you want to keep track of how you're doing this. So now at 30 grams, you can say on the next day, I'm going to do 30, 30, and 30. So now you're at 90 grams. That's still not a whole lot. That's what this was to here. So this was about to here was my 90 gram, was about 100 grams I did in here. So you're still not at a terribly large amount. On your next feed, however, you're going to be, if you did this, right, you're going to be at 180 grams and 180 grams. Now you're getting into to some dangerous level where you're getting up a little high. But at this point, you can discard half of it, and it's not, you haven't been discarding this whole time. So now you can just say discard half and go down to, like, say, back down to 50, and then do 50, 50, 50. Now you're at 150. And you can continue to do this, but you do want to actually throw that starter away until you get to the point at which it's active. And active means it is doubling and it is bubbly. So it is happy, it is active. I'm going to show you the inside here. I don't know if you guys can see that. See how that's bubbles inside? It's going to kind of flatten out as I do this. But that's active. That's what the active starter should look like. So the worst thing that you can do, and this is the mistake I made, is if you are starting your starter, there's this thing called a false rise that I did not know about. There's a false rise that'll happen at about anywhere between day 4 to day 7. And so you'll actually get it to be, woo, I'm happy. And then you think, oh, I can use it. No, don't use that. Don't use that. You will have the worst bread and you'll be so discouraged. Don't get discouraged. So when you're doing your starter from scratch, that's what we're talking about right now. Just know that it takes at least 2 weeks for it to really, really be good. So on that first little active starter, if it's less than 2 weeks, when it rose to double, just ignore that. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go feed it again, and in a couple days you're going to be like, it's not rising, nothing's going on, nothing's going on. It's okay, just have patience. It can take up to 3 weeks for your starter, if you're doing it from scratch, to actually become active. So the thing to note here is the false rise, ignore that. 2 to 3 weeks of building it, and that's literally feeding it daily. And if you don't want to do that, and you don't want to have all this excess flour that you're just tossing out, that's why I wanted to try the sourdough starter out from the TikTok shop, because I did dry my own, and it worked. I tested it 2-3 times already, and it worked great. So this is mine. These are the exact same amounts, but actually the one from the TikTok shop is actually immediately active. Mine is slightly active, not as active. Mine, by day 4, I can make bread with it. This one will be able to make bread in probably Monday. I'll be able to make bread. Maybe tomorrow. I might even try, but we'll see. So these are the ones I fed last night. No, yesterday morning. So this is this will be day 3 today for these. So maybe tomorrow we can bake bread with some of these. So the other thing I'm going to talk about is the covers. So I see a lot of comments of people online on the sourdough boards that talk about their starters get moldy, they get yeast issue, they get pink. So I do use these covers and I love them. There's 2 kinds though. One is really, really, really thin, and I'm wondering if people are using this, and if they have an environment that has molds and things in their house, this might not keep it out. The one I tend to use is extremely thick. It's more like a canvas bag, like a tote bag, that material. And I don't know which ones on the TikTok shop are good, so I don't know which one to recommend. So I would just say when you're looking for one of these tops, do that. You can use cloth with a rubber band. And if you do that, like I said, use a thick cloth and make sure you get a good seal on the rubber band, because you don't want, bugs, because something about the sourdough starter, the gnats love it. I learned that one the hard way too. That the gnats will just, if you have any fruit flies or gnats in the summertime, like we get a lot of gnats in the summertime. And if I have any of my fruit, that's what happens. So just know that the thicker cloth is likely going to protect you better. Some people will just take their jar and leave it like not close it all the way. You want the air to get in. You want your natural yeasts in the air to kind of help build this. I think one of the reasons my starter is fairly strong is because I live on the water, and I think there's a little bit more activity in the air. And I don't have a lot of mold, and I don't have any mold in my house that I know of. So I don't have that problem, but I've never had it go moldy. I've never had the Calms yeast. I've never had that pink huey yeast. So I say just, if you're going to use these things, maybe not use the thin one unless you're just putting it in the fridge and feeding it that way. Okay, so long story short, trying to start from scratch is much more difficult. That's what the takeaway is. So I strongly suggest, if you want to start, I don't know if you guys can see this. This thing is actually bubbling. It actually bubbles, and I just saw a bubble just pop. It just literally will pop. It just went bloop bloop. I don't know if you guys can see that. So it's actually pretty cool when it's actually active like this. So there's a bubble that might pop right there. So this is, to me, really cool. So we're doing sourdough starter. Oh, here we go. Hi, how dare you not have cheap jars like that on your store? Cheap jars like this? Cheap jars like this? I got some comments. Okay, I don't know how I would do this. At GT, I don't know if I can do this. Can I do a reply? Ah, there we go. So if you're wondering where I got these jars, these cheap jars, that's what somebody just commented. And these I actually got from Costco. Not from Costco, but these were tiramisu desserts that I got from Costco. It's like a set of 6, and they were so delicious and I love them so much. But we wound up keeping the jars because they're so freaking handy. You can use them for little, measuring. You can use them for little shots, like large shots. So, okay. Sorry about not being active on the watching the chat. It's hard for me to do both. Okay, and I said okay, Viola. Don't worry. So Viola says, I'm in day 5, no development at all. So Viola, I don't think you're on right now, but if you are, don't worry. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks before you actually can use it. That's why I'm really, I really do think getting a starter from someone that actually has done the work for you and has built this up probably for years and years. If, you're going to wind up with something like this on day 2 versus something like this, right? That's the difference between starting from scratch. In a couple days, you can have bread and you've got something of quality. Anyway, so now what the task is now is we're going to actually, this is the starter that we're going to feed today. So we're going to feed both of these, and we're going to I'm going to show you how to feed them and what to do. And like I said, with 5 grams, following their instructions, you're going to need to kind of refeed them a little bit more than you think. So the way I'm showing you is we're just building it, so that way you can get to the exact amount that you want for a loaf of bread. And then we're going to go from there. Okay. So these ones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some water real quick. I'm going to go grab some water. And okay, these 2. Okay, so these, both of these have 30 grams in them, and we can do a weight test to make sure. So I have a jar here. I'm going to zero it out, and then I'm going to weigh it. So this one is, it's 100 grams. And then this one should be the same, 100 grams. Okay, So both of these are at exactly 100 grams. So what that means is we're going to put the starter in. I'm going to start with mine, since mine's less active. I don't want to jinx things. So we're just going to start and add the 100 grams in. Okay. Now this point you can choose to only go down, take it down to 50 grams and go a little bit longer. So, but I'm not. I'm going to build up my starter. I'm going to have a little bit larger amount of starter. Okay, so putting the starter in, and we are going to add 100 grams of water. Okay, and I kind of go a little bit slow. So you want to go a little slow, not terribly. Okay. Okay, this is 100 grams. Okay, so now we've got 100 grams of starter, and we're going to just whisk this. And you can use a fork, you can use a spoon. I would prefer a fork over a spoon because you can see this, it's a little stringy. And there we go. So I like to get it so that it's completely incorporated, and it's still too stringy, so it's still too stringy. Put this out of the way. So this one's still too stringy. So I kind of mix it until it stops getting that stringiness. Okay. And I'm going to show, I can show you, I'm going to put up the jars that I like. Saturday morning. So, I don't know if this is exactly the same jar. Oh, that's not available. Of course, the one that I wanted to do is not available. Back to product sets. Okay, well, it's low in stock, so I'm going to just pin it and add this. Okay, not gonna let me add it. Not available. Okay, let me just continue with this process. I'm going to show you the jars, the type of jars you can use, but I also want to, I'm going to be doing these in mason jars, so that way you can see, you don't really need a fancy jar to do it, but I'll explain when we're in there why I prefer this other jar. So let's just get this going so you can see it's actually just kind of stuck to my whisk. All right. Okay. Just needs to come off. Usually it doesn't get stuck like that, but no surprise. You're on live, that's what's going to happen. Things are going to be weird. So this is just a little bit stuck. Okay, I'm just being difficult. It's just being difficult. It's okay, come on. Off, off, off. There we go. I got it. Okay, just wanted to stick there. So, like I said, you can use a fork too. The goal is to make it so that you don't have much stringiness in there. Okay, so we got that. And then I'm going to just add my 50 grams of flour, or 100 grams of flour, and then we're going to pour it into the jar. Like I said, this is by tomorrow, theirs may be active enough to bake from. So I will be doing this. So we're feeding it, and we're feeding it exactly 100 grams. And you go a little bit more. It's fine. It's better when you're feeding it to go a little more than a little less, because the little more means you're going to get enough flour in there to feed it. If you feed less flour than what's currently, than the ratio of starter, you're not feeding it enough, and it won't be happy. That's when you're going to wind up with flat breads, dense breads, things like that. Okay, so I'm just mixing it up. All right, so there we go. It's all incorporated now, and that's one of the reasons I do this whisking of it. So let's see if anybody, no comments. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this jar, and I'm going to try to do it nice and neat, so because I don't want much on the sides. And I'm going to show you with my jar why you don't want anything on the sides. Okay. Okay, So now I know there's 300 grams in here. That's quite a bit. On the next feed, I am going to take out half. Now, discard. When you're starting your starter from scratch, that first 2-3 weeks, the starter is not safe for you to use. When you're starting with a discard like this, it is safe for you to use immediately. So when I say discard, you actually can use that in your baking, and just think of it as anything that you would use a liquid and flour with. So some people do, there are some recipes for cookies, but you're going to find the best recipes are going to be for things like muffins or things that have milk or other wet ingredients that you're going to use. That's what I find to be better. So just know again the difference. Discard when you're doing a fresh starter, your own starter, you actually have to throw it away. It's not safe to eat. When you're doing a starter that's already that's been active and dehydrated, it is safe. It's safe to use. You don't have any bad bacteria, anything that you're trying to fight from. So I'm going to show you simple, simple, simple. You can use the fancy things, you know, those little fancy ones, or you can just use any rubber band that you have and just mark it. Now, why are you marking it? Well, and why do you want to clean jars? Some people don't clean their jars when they're feeding their starter, and I do every time, because unless I'm not planning on using it, because you can see on here, this is my starter got up to here, and I know that because my jar is clean. That's where the line went. So I fed it last night, it rose up, stopped there, and it's starting to fall. So at the point at which it gets to this part is when they consider it active and ready to use. It's hard to gauge that when you're trying to do your breads. So I always wait till it starts to fall, and then I use it. I will use it right here, and I actually have a lot of recipes that I've started to use when I just put in the fridge and it's inactive, and I tend to use those fine. Okay, so this jar, this one is my jar, so I'm gonna mark it so we know which one is which. So I'm gonna probably make 2 breads from these in a day or 2. We'll see how it goes. All right, so this one's mine. Then we're gonna do the one from the TikTok shop, the same thing. We're gonna just throw in the starter, and I'm okay with theirs being the second one because theirs is much more active than mine, so I'm not gonna cause any problems with it. I don't want to accidentally feed mine to, you know what I mean. All right, so we're zeroing that out, and we're going to add 100 grams of water. Almost. Okay, that was 106, so a little bit more water, and I can pull some out, but I'm just going to, I should probably pull some out. I'll pull some out like this. I pulled too much out. It's such a delicate balance. Okay, there we go. Exactly. So now I'm going to just stir it up, and then we'll add the flour. And like I said, this is the starter from these packets are really, really nice. I'm going to pin this now too. Oops. I lost my little connection. Oh, goodness. What is wrong with me? Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. So anybody who comes on live, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Ask me comments. It might take me a few minutes to get to you because as I'm doing this, it's hard for me to see the comments. But I appreciate if you can ask me questions. I will respond to you in the chat and online. So that way, if you do... I'm assuming you'll see the comments later, even if the live is ended. Okay, so this one is ready, and I'm going to just add my flour. And so we're going to just do flour. Now, you can use all-purpose flour for this without a problem. You can use rye flour. Is very common if you want to make it super strong. You can use whole wheat flour. Again, whole wheat and rye will give you a stronger starter. For people who are struggling with their starter being strong, that's usually the trick to kind of make it get that. Some people just only use rye flour or wheat flour when they're doing their starter, and it does not impact your bread. Don't think that you're going to wind up with a rye bread. You're not going to. So I'm going to dry this out, and I'm going to put in my 100 grams of flour. All right, let's go. So for anybody who's listening, we're doing sourdough. We're doing sourdough starters. We're talking all about the starters. And we're going to be talking about vanilla. I went a little bit crazy in COVID doing vanilla. I didn't start the sourdough journey during COVID like most people did. Instead, I waited until it was a lot later. So I was just behind the 8 ball. But the vanilla I did start, and I started doing all kinds of extracts. Oh, we have a lime tree in my dad's house. Oh, let's do all the limes. Let's do lime extract. Oh, we have some oranges, a ton of oranges from the tree in the backyard. Oh, let's do some orange extract. I did orange extract, lime extract, lemon extract, almond extract, cinnamon extract, and we'll talk all about what those extracts are. So now we've got this one is all nice and stirred up, and we're going to put it in these jars. Again, I prefer these jars. The reason why I prefer this jar over the mason jar, you don't have this jar, don't worry, use the mason jar. But the two things is, this one is straight without any decorations. So it's a lot easier to clean the jar, and it's a lot easier to kind of scrape and see things. The other part is it's really about the top. So even though this is a wide mouth, okay, it's got a lip in here. So when you're trying to clean the jar out and do things, that lip is a pain to get clean. This one is wide. These are wide all the way. They're straight. They're literally straight, and you want straight. So that way you can see what's going on. And so this one's just visually easier for me, and it's easier to keep clean. But I'm okay with using these jars, and I will use these jars when I run out. Only thing I have to say is a couple of my jars have cracked, and I don't know why, but I think there's a couple that I had there's this extra round piece that was off center. I have a feeling they were just not well done jars. So mason jars are always a good choice, and you don't have to have a fancy jar. But if you really start getting into it, you may find that you want these jars because it's much easier to clean, much easier to get that jar cleaned up on the sides. Now, you can feed this in the and I will do that where I will feed it in my jar. But the thing to note when you're doing that is that the sides are going to get a lot dirtier, and so you have to clean it off a lot. I'm okay with leaving a couple little drips like that, but I probably will wipe that down right now. Okay. All right. So there we go. Now we got a lot of stick. Oh, tip number 3, 10, 100. These things are really messy, right? It's got a lot of flour and water in them. Got starter flour, water. That's glue. Going down your pipes, be careful. I hope my pipes aren't bad because I didn't even think about that. I was throwing the stuff down the drain. I'm really praying that I don't wind up with my drains being like clogged up and having a ton, thousands of dollars of damage, but which I've heard some really horror stories. So what I'm doing now is I'll take a paper towel, I'll wipe it down, and then I'll use a wet paper towel and get as much out before I actually clean it. There will be some residual, but I tend to now, I don't just like rinse it and throw it down the drain because, I hope I don't have any problems. All right, so there we go. We're gonna put this top on. All right, so this one, you can see the difference. It's just not as thick, but we're gonna use this one because that's what I have right now. I'll probably go find another one. I just wanted to show you. So these two, I'm gonna put this one on here. I need to get the little sticker that says it's TikTok. These two, tomorrow, this one, which is the TikTok one, is going to be really active because it was already active today. And I might bake with it tomorrow because I have enough. I have 300 grams in here right now. So I may have enough to actually bake with tomorrow. Mine might not be ready. And so, like I said, you know, if you're starting from scratch, get a dried starter. I don't sell these. I bought this on my own. I don't make, you know, much more than 10 cents commission on these. I just really wanted to see what you guys saw, you know, what you have, what I can give to you in terms of a way to make this easier. And honestly, so let's just backtrack. So on Thursday evening, I did the process of hydrating it and doing a little feed, a small feed. And then then what I did next was, yesterday morning, I did a regular 1-1-1 feed, 1 part starter, 1 part flour, 1 part water. And then today we're doing the same thing. And the TikTok one already was very active with just that first real feed, the first standard feed. So I'm going to highly recommend it. So I'm going to put these aside because we don't need them right now. I'm putting this stuff aside for now. And here we go. All right, so let's talk. Okay. And we are going to, Alexa, how much more time on my timer?
There are no timers set.
Oh, it's on my watch. Oh, 2 minutes. Okay, perfect. So so this is actually a little thicker than I would expect it to be from rehydrating, but it's fine. So what I'm going to do is I have 5 grams of water, 5 grams of starter. The instructions they give are incorrect. So the instructions given on this packet are incorrect because they're saying add 15 grams of flour. What did they say? Let me see how this one says. I wrote down on it. I wrote on it. What's going on? Oh, here we go. So in 30 minutes, stir in 15 grams of unbleached flour and cover. I was supposed to do 15 grams of water. Well, that was my problem, why it's so thick. So I'm going to add another 10 grams of flour. So that's why you should read instructions. So I'm going to add 10 grams of flour. Oh, now it's at 15. Get some of that out. When you're dealing with these small amounts, it really is hard to gauge. I'm just putting it into my discard bowl. Okay, there we go. Okay, so no wonder why I should have done 15 grams. So let's just get a clean fork. Stir that up. So and this will be fine because you just really want it to be hydrated. You want it to be no longer a dried mess because you want to be able to get it to mix in with the flour just fine. So I'm just kind of mixing it up. Might let it sit for a minute. Nope, it's going to be fine. Okay, so their instructions are incorrect because they're telling you to put in 15 grams of water and 5 grams of starter, of dehydrated starter. The flour of 15 grams was just too much because you already have the 5 grams of dehydrated starter, which is a dry flour. So if you put in the full 15 grams of flour, and that's why I was off by 10 grams on my method because it was too much flour. It was too dry. So you need to put only in 10 grams of flour at this stage. And then you're going to wind up with 30 total grams. And it'll be an even amount. Because you'll have, yeah, there we go. That's me telling me I need to feed it. Okay. So that's the only thing I might give them some comments as to the fact that they need to adjust that. Because it was the wrong ratio. And it was really too stiff and you really couldn't work with it. Okay, so now I added my 15 grams of flour and I'm going to stir it up. And then I'm gonna let this sit. So even this is a little thick. It's a little bit too thick. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of flour, a little bit of water, I mean. I'm gonna just get a little spoon. So you want it to be thick, but you want it to be so that you can still stir it and see it. See, this is more like a dough ball, like really thick. And there is a starter that is made like this, that's thick like this. Oh, I have a dried starter and I have no clue what to do with it. Okay, Katit, I hope you're online. Okay, so you have your dried starter. You missed the beginning of this. So start with 5 grams. How many grams of starter did you get? Did you get a 5 gram or did you get like just a like 20 grams or something? If you started with 5 grams, then you just start and just go. If you started with something larger, make sure you get a scale. If you don't have a scale, that's going to be harder to do, but you can still do it. You want to, with the scale, measure out 5 grams of flour of the starter, and then add 15 grams of water. Mix it, let it sit on the counter just for 30 minutes while you're doing other things. And we're in the second stage because I just did that. Oh, perfect. Okay, so they sent you 10 grams. So split it in half. Keep 5 grams aside for when you, if you mess up and your starter goes bad. And I'll talk about going bad starter. That gives you the ability to make another batch later. And then you don't have to worry about it. The other thing to note is once you get your starter going, you can freeze it. When it's in the active state, you can freeze your starter as well instead of dehydrating it. And that works great too. Okay, so this first step is to just put in 15 grams of water with your 5 grams of the dehydrated starter. So once you do that, you let it sit for 30 minutes to rehydrate. And then you're gonna add 10 grams of flour. And that's what I just did here. I added 10 grams of flour. My water was a little bit, this one's a rye, so I think that is a little thicker. It should be a little bit like this. It should look like this. So it should flop, but not be a dough ball, but should be good like that. So what I'm gonna do with this now is I'm gonna cover it with saran wrap and I'm gonna have it go overnight. Now the next morning, what I'm gonna do is, so I did, yesterday I did 30. Yeah, so then the next morning what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 30 grams of water and 30 grams of flour. And I'm going to let it, cover it and go 24 hours. So now I've got 90 grams of flour. And at that point, if you have a nice active starter, you'll start seeing a little bit of rise. The one from the TikTok shop, which I don't know about your cousin's starter, this one I was shocked at. It was way better than mine, my dehydrated starter. So I don't dehydrate a lot, so I don't know, what the right way to do it is, but I borrowed my sister's dehydrator and just used it. And mine, I've tested mine 2-3 times from scratch to baking, and it makes great bread. So I am, I'm confident that your cousin's starter will probably be fine. But just know that we'll talk about kind of the next steps. So today is the first day of this. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm in the morning, I'm only going to go a half a day on this first one because you don't really need to go much longer than that. They say 24 hours. The first feed, I only do half a day. So tonight, I'm going to feed it 90 grams of water and 90 grams of flour. No, 30 grams. 30 grams of water and 30 grams of flour. And I'm going to stir it up just like I did, and I'm going to cover it. And then in 24 hours, you're gonna feed it again. And that's what I did just here. Where is it? So these ones, all right, so this one is today, this morning. I did the original set like this on Thursday night. And then Friday morning, which is yesterday, I did my 1-to-1 feed. And then today I did another feed. And so it takes about 4 to 5 days from a dried starter to be able to bake bread. And I honestly think that the one from the TikTok shop may be able to bake bread tomorrow because it was so active today. And you don't have to discard. It's safe to use. You can discard, but just know that if you discard, you can put it in the fridge and you can use that for recipes and you can use that to continue your starter. So let's see. Do you have to use, no. Starter, when you're doing your starters, you need to use You could use all-purpose flour, but unbleached. I'm going to be very clear when you're dealing with. I don't really know whether the bleach will cause a problem, but my brain says don't use bleach flour, and all of the boards say don't use bleach flour. Some people have used it without a problem, but I think it's going to be similar to if you have high chlorine content in your waters, you may wind up with sluggish starter. So, so you don't want things that are going to kind of impact your flour from being active. So bread flour is, you can use, don't worry about it, you can, but it's much more expensive. And it's the only real difference is the protein content. How much protein is in the flour. So bread flour and all-purpose flour are just different protein contents. And thing to note, the all-purpose flour that's sold at Costco, at least at my Costco, has the protein content of bread flour, and that's all I'm using now for my bread. And I use it for my starter as well. So you can use bread flour if that's all you have, but you don't have to. You can also, you don't even need to use bread flour for your breads. But again, I'm using Costco all-purpose flour, which is bread flour. And I'm finding that to be amazing. But you're going to find if you don't use bread flour for some of your baking, your protein content may be a little low. It may not be as fluffy. If you get your flour in bulk and you don't want to have both bread flour and regular all-purpose flour, and you just want a big batch of all-purpose flour, you can buy Vital Gluten, and that will, and just add that to your all-purpose flour, pumps up the protein content, allows you to have your own homemade bread flour, so you only have one batch of bread, one batch of flour. So anyway, so what I'm gonna show you is what I do for these jars. I like to clean it. Sorry, 1 second, my sink is on the wrong side of the thing. I don't have the proper setup for my sink. Okay, so I've been saying, whenever I'm feeding, whenever I am even making the breads, I will clean the jar. And I do that so I know where the line is. Did it get taller? Because when it gets taller, when it rises and then starts to fall, I should just keep this one over here because this is the key to note why I clean my jar. You can see it rose right to there. That's the line at where it rose and stopped. If this jar was dirty, like I had been using it and just fed it in the jar and just let it go, you wouldn't be able to see that clean line. So you won't know how far did it get up, and did it start to fall? Is it, where is it in its state? How active is it? Is it moving at all, right? I'm not going to mark these little jars to know where it starts because I don't care. I'm not going to use this as a guide. I'm just doing this set, the first 2 feeds of this, I am just doing with weights and not worrying about how tall is it going to get. Okay, so now we've got this. This one is now a dried starter. Looks like this. 5 grams of dried starter, 15 grams of water, mix it, let it rest, and then put in 10 grams of flour, mix it, and now we're going to cover it. And it's going to go half a day, either from morning to evening, or from evening to morning, just half a day. And it's this part of it is just really getting it to kind of be just to kind of be ready. So I am putting this tight for the first 2 feeds because it doesn't really need to have a whole lot of activity. Once I go through the first 2 feeds, I use these so that, one, it gets the air into it, lets it kind of escape, because it will start to bubble. If you put something super tight on here, it will just start to bubble up, and it will, because there's a lot of activity going on. I don't know if you can see on the sides, it actually does bubble, and if you're going to get air, it will go blub, 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 blub. And actually air will come up. So you want to let that air release as it's growing, and you want to allow some of the yeasts in the air to kind of help feed it. You don't want any bacteria in the air. That's why you put the cover on. You don't want any molds. Again, I have these thick covers and I have thin covers. I get a thick cover. Don't get the thin one. I think that the thin ones are problematic. another thing with your jars, they need to be clean and not soapy. If there's soap residue in here, you're going to have trouble. So just be warned. Don't worry about a lot of things, but soapy jars, dirty, oily jars, those are the types of things that are going to cause your starter to get contaminated. So I don't know if I still feel like this has got to be not true, but on TikTok you see, follow some of these, people from England, and they we don't rinse our dishes. What do you mean you don't rinse? They wash it with soap and then they just stick it in the thing and don't rinse it. I don't know about that. But in this case, if you're from England, I would definitely rinse your jars. Do not leave any soapy residue on them. That is going to be causing you some real heartache and wondering why things are not working. And same thing when you're making your breads. Make sure that everything you're doing has no soap in it, has no oils in it, is basically free and clear of any molds, oils, soap. So anyways, so dehydrated starter, we're talking about, I'm going to go pin the dehydrated starter again. So Caddy, I'm going to call you Caddy Tuxedo. Oh, that's a nice name. I don't know if you're still on, but if you have any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. If you guys can give me the love on the thing, that would be great. I am trying to work towards learning how to do these lives a little bit better. So I am getting better. I'm learning some things. I'm still missing some things. So some of this is just me trying to learn, and some of it is kind of to help people who are starting sourdough and don't know what to do, because I started and I didn't really pay attention. I was just looked at a couple things. So it kind of threw me, and I didn't really understand it. So the first thing is when we're talking starter because that's your first introduction to sourdough, and starting from scratch is what I did. And like I said, when I started it and it's from scratch, you have to throw away half. And I did understand that, but I didn't know why. And understanding now that that's because there's bad bacteria in it. You haven't developed the goodness that is a strong starter, which essentially will combat anything that's in the air and in the jar that is bad. It'll actually prevent bad bacteria from going in there, from being in there. So it is possible for it to be contaminated. Don't get me wrong, but it's healthy to use. It's perfect for you to use in as it is in other baked goods. Use it as you can even just take your starter that's like this and just fry it. Just kind of pour it into a pan and fry it, and it's like fry bread. It's pretty amazing. So anyways, I'm kind of starting to ramble now, aren't I? So the dried starter versus active starter. If you have dried, that's better. If you have friends that have active starter, you can even just ask them for 50 grams of their starter, and then you can start from there, and you can, from day 2, you can have enough thing. There's something that's called a vault challenge. I don't know what the heck that is. Let me see what this says. Vault challenge, light up vault gifts. I don't know what that is. How to get points. Okay, I don't know what this is. What is it doing? I don't know what that is. Okay. There's something about, I don't know. I don't understand these gifts things. I don't know what that vault challenge is. It's just sitting there. Maybe I'm supposed to, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. So, sorry, this is again the live stuff I'm trying to understand. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to make some bread. And I'm going to, well, actually, yeah, we'll make some bread first. So we're going to use this starter, but I'm going to also show you 2 other things. Stick with me. I am here. I'm just grabbing some things from my refrigerator. All right. Okay. All right. So what I'm grabbing from my refrigerator is 2 jars. So this is my current starter that I kind of filled up, and then I use it, and then until it gets down to here. This starter has not been fed in probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I essentially had fed it like this and had been making a bunch of bread and just kept topping this off until it got pretty full. And so then I started using it as is. And I will use this starter for my bread. I have a couple videos. One of the more latest videos is a little quick short one that's called Unloaf, and it has the really quick instructions. You can go see that. It just screenshot that and you can use it. I am using the starter that has not been fed for 3 weeks. I am taking what I need from here and just going straight into making a loaf of bread. And the recipe I'm going to show you today, I have used the unfed starter. People call it discard. I call it unfed because it's not discard. You're not discarding it. It's just not fed starter. Unfed starter. And I've used that in this recipe. Today we're going to make what's called a sandwich loaf. So it's not a traditional sourdough. This is what we use for sandwiches. And it is so good. It is so good. And I've used this, the unfed starter. The only difference is that it's going to take a little longer time to rise because it hasn't gone through this process of getting it, getting the starter to be raised. And then this jar, we're going to do this a little later. This is a jar that I had emptied out, and I had seen one creator do this where they just put their empty jar in the fridge, and then when they're ready to make bread the day before, they just rinse it. They just essentially add the water and flour and start it. And I know that that's going to work because I've done it with jars that are fresh, and I have those videos on there as well. But I wanted to try one where it's sitting like this in the fridge for a couple weeks, and so this one's at about 2 weeks now. So we'll try that today. But I'm going to use this one today, and you can see it's started to fall. So some people would say, oh, I can't use it. You can use it. You can use it at any of these levels, but you can't use it when it's rising. I've made that mistake. When it's still rising, that's when you're going to get that really dense bread that's going to be like, oh, what the heck happened here? So just know that it's okay. Use it in this state. So I am going to get my bowl. I'm going to do it in a glass bowl so you can see it. And then we'll put it in something different to rise. Okay, so I'm going to go grab my recipe that I use regularly for this. I have a site that I haven't put the recipe on, so I'm going to have to put the recipe on my site. I have a website that I do recipes for. It's called Dish-Ditty, or just Dish Ditty, D-I-T-T-Y. So that one I will be putting my recipe on, and I wonder if I can, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can pin these ingredients. I think I can. Let's see, how do we do this? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I wonder if I can, on here, add a billboard. Yeah, billboard, there we go. I want to put something, key message, engage users, place orders, display. Okay, how do I do this? Maybe I just do an image. I'll do a screenshot of the ingredients. I'm going to do, this way you guys can have actually what I'm doing, what's being used, in a little easier way, okay? So we're going to do that. I'm going to add an image. So I'm learning, guys. Sorry about having my face away from you. So we're going to be making a sandwich loaf now. This is one of our favorite ones to make. Image too small. Okay, let's do this again. Do. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Sorry about this. I figured I could be able to do this a little bit better, but no, that's not the case. Okay. Okay, there we go. Let's try that. Let's see if that's big enough. Upload image. Okay. It wants it to be even bigger. All right, sorry about this, guys. I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Just trying to make it so you guys can see the ingredients without me having to, whatever. All right, let's try one more. Maybe that's big enough. Maybe not, hold on. Upload, trying. So I just want to give you guys the ingredients. There we go. Okay, display. Yay, okay, well that's kind of small. I don't know if there's a way for me to reposition it. I don't think so, but that's the ingredients we're gonna work with today. So I'm going to go back to my screen. I apologize if anybody has any questions, just give me a few minutes to answer, because it is hard for me to see both the lives and the and kind of stare at you here and actually watch what's going on over here. And right now I'm going to be kind of double dutying. I'd say that 3 times fast. Okay, so this one, what you start with, I should have rearranged that, but you're going to start with 200 grams of sourdough starter. Okay, we're going to do 200 grams, and it's going to be most of this jar. Not quite all of it, but it'll be most, because I kind of made it so that I did the amount. I did 50 grams of flour, of starter, 100 grams of flour, and 100 grams of water, so that I try to make it as close as possible. So I still have a little bit in here, more than enough to get as close as possible. So I still have a little bit in here, more than enough for a full. I could have all of this gone and actually make a full jar of starter. So just know, don't worry if you have to use all of the starter that you've got, you're fine. Okay, just take a little bit out. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I've got my starter. I'm gonna go grab some water and some milk. So we're gonna do, this one is both milk and water. And this cup, I know this cup looks dirty, but it only has starter and water and flour in it. So we're going to do 100 grams of water. Okay, there we go. And we're going to do some milk and some butter. And I apologize, I'm walking off screen again. Oh, actually, I'm going to use oil in this one instead. I've started to use oil. I've started to use olive oil, and I actually like it. I like it a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to do 125 grams of whole milk. Okay, and then we're going to whisk it up. Now, you're better off if you can do these measurements separately and then pour them into your jar, into your bowl. So I should do that, and I sometimes mess up and put a little bit more. So I do have a little bit more in here than I should. So I will be modifying my flour a little bit. Okay, so we got that, and now we're going to do 50 grams of olive oil. You can do butter or olive oil or avocado oil or anything of your choice. You just want a little bit of fat in there. So we're going to do 50 grams of that. This comes out a little bit slow. Okay, this is going a little too slow. I'm going to go grab something that I actually bought off the TikTok shop that I love. And it works a little bit better when you're trying to do pouring for larger amounts. It's a spray or a pour. And I already have those beautiful containers, so I still have those, but I honestly love this one. So we're doing 50 grams. It's quite a bit, but you want that. You want the fat. That's what makes the loaf really, really good. Okay, 50 grams. All right. And I don't know if I have this on here on the TikTok shop. Let's go to products. It might be in here. Spray. No, it's not in here. Add product. Saturday morning. Oh. Okay, I don't know. Well, sorry about that. You're not. You can find this. I want to say it's about $8-10, very cheap, and I am actually impressed. I bought expensive versions of the spray stuff, one that you have to pump, and this is actually avocado oil in here. I bought one of those avocado spray, those Pam sprays, but avocado oil from Costco, and that thing is like just a mess. I keep buying it thinking it's going to be good. So now I can just use this for my avocado oil, and it is perfect. Okay, so now we got gotta get back to my instructions. And we need 40 grams of sugar. So I'm going off screen again, sorry about that. And then we need salt and flour. So I'm gonna grab the salt and the sugar so we can do that all at once. And so we've got salt and sugar. All right, so you can, and I put your salt in this stage. There's so many different people that have said one more or the other. I honestly have found that putting the salt in at this spot doesn't matter. A lot of times I'll put it in with the flour and kind of stir it in with the flour, but at this stage it's fine. So I'm going to put in 40 grams of sugar, and this is what's going to make it not sour for the sourdough. Whenever you have people that don't like sourdough, this is a good bread for that, because it tastes much more like a sandwich bread. The sourdough only comes through at like day 3 or 4. It starts to kind of, you can tell it's not 100% white bread, but it is really good. It's got the soft fluffiness, and this was going to be 12 grams of salt. So do a little bit at a time, because it takes a minute for it to settle, and you can over salt it, but don't worry if you put too much salt in. If you can't pull it out, just let it go, and you might have a saltier bread. It's okay. Some people love salty breads. All right, so now it's all mixed in, and what I'm going to do is add the flour. And so for this one and the flour, we are going to do stretch and folds, and we are going to use the proof setting in the oven. If you don't have a proof setting in your oven, actually I'm going to turn on my oven right now. Hold on. If you do not have a proof setting on your oven, you can use the oven light, and that'll get your temperature up warm enough. You just may need to follow a little longer. So I need to reset, and I'm doing, that's why we have instructions, 400 grams of flour. So this one has it's very, very moist. It has a high hydration level, so it's much more hydrated than a lot of breads. And that's probably why it works to make it much softer, fluffy. And I also will show you what I use to bake it in, and the reason why it works, and I'll show you an alternative. Gosh, I'm taking too long on this. Here we go, get a bigger scoop. I'm getting closer. I'm getting up to 400 grams of flour. Getting there, almost. I'm going to put a little bit more flour because I need to put a little bit extra water in there. Okay, so I do some of the traditional things that you do with a regular sourdough, where I'm going to mix this into what's called a shaggy dough, and this is going to be wet. It's not going to be a dough ball. So most sourdough is not going to get into a really super dough ball state. This one will get, this is what we're calling a shaggy dough. So you'll see this is a shaggy dough. And we are going to just get it to the point where your flour and everything is mixed in. You don't want any dried flour bits if you can help it. And you don't want it to be like wet. So this is, you can see this, it's shaggy. That's what they mean by shaggy. And at this stage, that's all you want to do at first, because what you're trying to do, similar to the starter when we first started, the dehydrated starter, you want it to just kind of, the flour to kind of relax and get meld in there, because you can, you know, start working this, and there are recipes that will start working it like this. Totally fine. Again, I am not a traditionalist when it comes to sourdough. This is much more of a do what works for you, because you're going to get good bread. It may not be a traditional sourdough bread that you would want to purchase at a artisanal, you know, food, you know, like one of the like arts and wine fairs, or you know, what are those things where you go on the weekends, whatever that is. Oh, farmer's market. So this isn't something that, you know, you're not selling these, you're eating them. So you're going to do things that make it work for you, make it easier for you, and make it something that you can actually do without a lot of work. So this sandwich bread, so easy. You can have bread same day. Start it in the morning. You're using the proofing oven to speed up the process. One of the things I like about when you're doing the sandwich bread, why I use the proofing oven, the longer your dough takes to bulk, and then the longer you leave it in the fridge, it's actually getting more sour. So if you don't want as sour of a bread, don't rest it in the oven. I mean, don't rest it in the refrigerator overnight. Don't use, you know, you want it to take a little longer to rise. So maybe not put it in the oven with the light on. Definitely don't put it in the proofing oven. But this is a sandwich bread. So this one, I'm going to want it to go faster. So I am doing this in a proofing oven, which means it's going to be done today. I'm going to eat it today. I'm going to go grab I brought here. So I use the wrap now. I should probably I'm going to actually clean this off. Sorry, I'm going to do what I've been doing. Hold on one second. Sorry about this. My kitchen is designed in a circle, so I don't actually have the L shape. It's not really designed. So this Dollar Tree. One of the things, so I love these glass bowls, but I don't know if you can see, it's curved. So it's really hard to know when it's double. I know when it's double because I've done it enough in this thing, but, oh, this one's got a little mark on it. It's not open, it's fine. Looks like I burned it on the stove. But these are from the Dollar Tree, and honestly, I love them. $1.25, and I think you get two. I don't know if you get two. I don't remember if you get two of them. It used to be $1. Mickey, if somebody's here. Okay, you guys can hear my dogs. So, my dogs like to say hello when people come. Alright, so my proofing oven is proofing. So all I'm doing is just getting some of this excess dough because I don't want to waste and I don't want to have to clean it later. So, anyway, so the sourdough, if you want it more sour, you want to give it more time, especially time in the refrigerator. One of the other benefits of putting your dough in the refrigerator is to get that dough that bread that's easier to digest. So people who have sensitivities, stomach sensitivities, I'm not talking about gluten allergies. You'll never be able to eat if you're celiac or have any real allergies to gluten. Sourdough will never work for you. But if you have sensitivities or you have gut issues and you want to increase your fermented foods, kimchi, sauerkraut, sourdough's on that list of yogurts. Those are the things that you want to make your healthy gut bacteria. So you'll find that putting it in the fridge for 24 hours versus 12 hours will make it even easier for your stomach to digest, and it'll help your gut as well. But this one's not that. This is just making a sandwich loaf. So I'm gonna get I have a little lid for this. Again, I apologize. I am going off camera again, and you can hear me probably better now, but I'm just grabbing my lid. So if I was using my glass bowl, I would just put the plastic wrap and be done. But this bowl doesn't do that, so I just kind of put it almost on, but not fully. And I'm gonna stick this in the oven, and we're gonna let it sit there for how long? I think it's 45 minutes is what I do. 45 minutes. Yep. So I'm gonna let this sit in the oven for 45 minutes on proof. And the proof is at 100 degrees. My proof does it at 100 degrees. So that's what we're doing there. Next up, we're going to feed. Do I want to feed this? No, I think I'll do this one another. I'll do another feed because I have a lot of starter going on right now. So this is my old starter that's been in the fridge. I have done this bread with starter that's been in the fridge for 2-3 weeks that has not been fed. You can use unfed starter on almost all of your breads. The only thing you have to know is you need to let it. You're gonna need more time for it to rise. I'm using the proofing oven, and that will also help you get the rise faster and get it more active. But unfed starter works great. You do not have to do it to the where you have to let it rise up. So, but this is the one thing that I do is I will take this is my starter that I use, and the jar is got a little bit left, and I just put it into this jar. Do I have any questions? I should look and see if I have any questions so I can see. Sorry if you guys have questions, ask. It might take me a minute to get to them, but I appreciate it if you ask questions and I will try to answer as best as I can. So again, I am not a traditionalist with sourdough. I am going to be clear. I make great breads. My neighbor gets half of a loaf whenever I make it because it's just me and my husband most times, and that's just way too much bread for us to eat. So she gets a lot of half a loaf, and she's like, every bread is still good and it's different. I'm like, yeah, because I'm always trying out new things. I'm not trying to just make boring bread every time. Okay, so now I've put that in there. I kind of mix it up a little bit just to kind of take that new starter, mix it in so that it kind of takes that old starter, makes it happy. So this is kind of feeding it, which is probably why it works so well. But I have not even put in any active starter in this for 3 weeks, and so I fed it last night, and we're making the bread on it today. And the bread had already started to fall, so I'm going to leave this. So if you have anything in your starter that is still active, meaning it's going to rise, you want to leave some air. You don't want to close it tightly. Since I just put in starter that I had fed yesterday, it's falling, but it is active and kind of will reactivate with this for a little bit. So I will see a little bit of rise in here. So because of that, I am loosening it up. Now in a couple days, when I notice that, okay, it's not going to rise anymore, it's kind of falling, then I'll just close it up and you can keep it closed. And you can always just keep it loose in the fridge, it's fine. But honestly, again, if you have issues with, if you have any moldy fruits, remember, that can get into here. So just be cautious of what you're doing. So I'm just leaving it slightly loose so that it can get the air out. And this, I could make starter from this. See my previous videos. You don't have to have like a lot of starter to make starter. That's all you need. That's it. A jar that's got some stuff in it. And it will be super strong, and in some ways it's actually will strengthen your starter if you give it large feeds, ratio of large feeds. So what I mean by ratio is usually you're going to do equal parts starter, water, mix it, add equal parts flour. So say you start with 50 grams of starter, 50 grams of water, 50 grams of flour. Okay, so that's the standard ratio. That's a 1-to-1. So then you can do 50 grams of starter, 100 grams of water, 100 grams of flour. Okay, right. You can also do 5 grams of starter and 50 grams of water and 50 grams of flour. So now you're at a 10 times ratio, right? And when you do the 10 times any of the higher ratios, it's going to take longer for it to rise and longer for it to fall. So, for example, if I'm trying to bake a bread tomorrow morning and it's 6 o'clock at night, I'll probably do 2 times, 1, 2, and 2. So 1 part starter, 2 parts water, and 2 parts flour. If I just want to, take this jar and make a nice set of starter for some time to use, I will do 5, just the empty jar, and I'll just do 50 grams of water and 50 grams of flour, and now I wind up with about a little over 100 grams of starter. You can go at any of those, a little over 100 grams of starter. You can go at any of those, and it's just gonna take longer for it to rise. So if 10 times, we'll go, it was like about 30 hours for it to get to its peak. But then it's also going to take a lot longer for it to fall, which means you have a lot longer of a time to actually use it for the bread baking. If you are not one that is very exact science, I mean, it knows exactly when you're going to use your starter and exactly when you're going to make bread and exactly how long it's going to take for it to rise. Sometimes doing those types of feeds are great because it gives you more time to figure it out. But again, I'm going to state this. When you feed your starter, this is a new starter that we just fed today. When you feed your starter, it's going to rise. Don't do it at double. That is the thing that I did wrong early on. I kept getting bad breads, and sometimes it was good bread, sometimes it was bad, because I said, oh, it's double, it's ready. Nah, my starter, because where I live and I'm in California, it's a little warmer, I get 3 times, easily 3 times. So when I was doing it at double, it was not ready to use, and it was not healthy, not healthy, it was not at that state where it was like, I can actually feed the bread. So you need it to get all the way to the top, and I let it fall. I get the clean jar. Unfortunately we use this, but you can see here, the sides are dirty, right? So when it starts to fall, you'll see residual. So if you're using a clean jar, you'll be able to see, oh, I've already reached peak and I'm starting to fall. As soon as you get to that, from the peak to here, you can use it at any of these stages. It just means at certain times, like if it's way down here and or from the fridge, like this one was, it just means you might need more time for it to rise, but it will rise and you will get great bread. So just don't get discouraged. Don't think, and I used to do this, oh no, I missed my window, and then I'd feed it when it's here. Don't do that either, because what you're doing now is you already have one that's not hungry, and you're throwing more water and flour in it, and it's like, wait, I'm not ready to eat yet. So use it in these stages, use it down here. Just don't do it on the rise. On the rise is not good. So that's what one of the things that I learned, that I kept trying to figure out what is going on, and then when I would let my starter go, I'm like, oh, it's like way up here. And again, it's probably because where I live, you may only get to double, and that's fine. I live on the water, and I live in California, and it's a lot warmer here. So I think we have a lot more activity. I think my guess is that's why the San Francisco sourdough is so good, is because of the yeast in our air, because of the water. It is going to be a lot more active. So anyways, so I'm going to, I have pinned there, if you guys are interested, I got some new people in here. Okay, we said, I just bought some yesterday, it's planning to be here today. Yay, Rebecca! I'm excited for you. So I'm going to just show you again what I did. So I have their starter. Okay, so I don't know which one you bought, but this is the one I bought from the TikTok shop. And I bought it. I did not get this free. I wanted to test it. And I tested it against my dehydrated starter, and theirs was better. We're just on day 2 of the start, day 2.5 of the starter, and theirs is better than mine. So I'm going to give this not just a thumbs up, like 3 or 4 or 5 thumbs up. So this one, what you want to do is take 5 grams. I don't know how many grams you bought, Rebecca, but if you bought 5 grams, that's perfect. If you bought more than that, just measure out 5 grams. You don't need to use more. If you bought more, save it, because there are things that can happen to your sourdough starter that will make you need to start a new batch. But I'll also tell you some ways to prevent you from doing that. So you're going to take your 5 grams. I use a little tiny cup, or I use these little glass jars that I got from, this is a dessert at Costco called tiramisu, and they came in these 6 little jars, and I love these jars. They're like perfect. So I just measure out or pour out 5 grams, and then you put in 15 grams of water, mix it, set it aside just for 30 minutes. What you're trying to do is rehydrate it. You're trying to get that dehydrated starter to a wet state so that we can actually use it. So then what you're going to do is add in 10 grams. This one says 15 grams. It's too thick. Don't do that. You only want 10 grams of flour, because you already have 5 grams of dried dried, essentially flour in there. So you only want to add 10 grams. So you've got your 5 grams of starter, your 15 grams of water, and then your 10 grams of flour. And you're mixing it up, and you're going to cover it with saran wrap, leave it on the counter overnight, or if you started in the morning, till the evening. And then you know what you're starting with now is you've got 30 grams in here because you have 5 grams of starter, 15 grams of water, and 10 grams of flour. So now you know you have 30 grams, so you don't have to actually measure it. And this little cup, I can do the next feed in this little cup. Makes it easier because it's small amounts. So in this feed, I just add in 30 grams of water, mix it in, and then 30 grams of flour, mix it in. Again, cover it with saran wrap. That one you're going to go 24 hours. From here on, you're going to go 24 hours. And then just set it aside for 24 hours. Then in 24 hours, you're going to do a regular feed, and that's what we did here. So what this one is I took the starter that I had day and a half, I started it, and I know exactly how much I have. So I'm going to do 90 grams of water and 90 grams of flour, and then I'm going to mix it up and have a clean jar. I did it in a separate bowl so I could pour it in here and have it clean, but if you mix it in here, just clean your sides really well with a wet paper towel, so that way you can keep it clean. Mark where you're starting from, okay? And then 24 hours. And when it gets to the point, you're going to do this every 24 hours until it gets to the point where it's active. Now, at some point, you need to get rid of some of the starter, right? So I suggest that you go down to the next feed, you go down to 100 grams, and there'll be 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams. You go lower. But the reason I say that is, well, I guess it depends on how active the starter is. This starter, the starter you get from the TikTok shop, you will be able to bake bread with it on day 4. So you can go down to 50 grams. 50 grams of starter, 50 grams of water, 50 grams of flour. At that point, you have 150 total. Is not enough for most breads. Usually the ones I have start at 165 grams, so that's why I wanted to do 100, 100, 100. So at that point, you just essentially do that. And since you're starting with a dried starter, if you're discarding, meaning taking it out so that way you don't keep building up and having 10 gallons of starter in the end, you can put that in the fridge. I just have a jar that I put it in the fridge, and then you can use that at any time, and you can use that as your kind of discard jar, because it's perfectly safe. If you're doing your starter from scratch, the first 2 to 3 weeks, you have to throw that away. And that's why they call it discard, because it is unhealthy. You don't want to eat it. It's not safe. Well, I'm sure it's not going to kill you, but it's not technically that safe to eat. So that's why they say discard. And that concept of discard is really a misnomer. Discard in the very beginning, you are throwing it away if it's not a dried starter or a frozen starter, So if your starter is active and has met that criteria of I've doubled 3 days in a row, you want to discard. But for this one, these are active and happy and healthy, so you don't need to discard. But if you do want to feed it at lower ratios, meaning you don't want to have this, like I started when I wanted to put all this extra starter, I'm like, what do I do with all this? You just put it in a jar in the fridge, and then you can use this for your breads, for your muffins. You can use it for, you can even just make flatbread. I'll mix it with just a little bit of flour and water and roll it out and pan fry it. You can even just make crackers from it. There's so many recipes that you can use for the discard. And including, I use the discard for my regular breads, just so you know. Okay, so what do we have? I'm in California, Northern California, off of the Sacramento Delta, Lincoln. Why feed so much? Is it not a waste? Okay, it depends on, correct. It can be a waste, but I am building this so that tomorrow I'll have enough to bake bread with. That's why. I'm going to try baking bread with it to see at which state it can actually work. And the starter that I had here had already almost doubled overnight on the first feed. So I am pretty sure that tomorrow I'll be able to actually use this as a starter. So for my bread. And some of my breads are, like I said, anywhere between 165 to 250 grams of starter. So I like to have, or 265 yeah, about 260, 270 grams of starter is the most I usually see. So this one has 300 total grams, and my discard jar is almost empty, so I am going to be discarding into that on purpose, so that way I can build up my discard jar and fridge, and then I will use this instead of active starter for my breads. The unloaf, actually almost any of my breads, even this bread I'm making today, which is the sandwich loaf. I have been using my unfed starter in that, aka discard. So I'm almost out. That's why I'm feeding so much. But if you're starting from scratch, this is about the right amount for you to kind of get going and to be able to do breads. You can, like I said, you most certainly can go down and discard some of this. If you're using the dried starter, you can just discard it into the fridge and use it for baking without a problem. All right, so let's see. All right, so one of the other things I wanted to talk about is what to look for and what is okay and what is not okay on the starter. Because there's a lot of confusion when you're first starting, and it's scary because you might see, this is what my unfed starter looks like. I just mixed in a little bit of it. This is kind of what it looks like when it's starting, right? It's you can see, it looks like, water and flour. But there's 2 things that can happen, but 10 things that can happen. When you're first starting out and you're feeding your starter, if you see water, like a little bit of water down here, that means you're not using enough flour to feed the amount of starter that you had on the last set or continually. So that is more of a feeding issue, meaning you're not getting enough flour in here to feed it. If you're seeing liquid on the top, that's called hooch. And actually, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Just mean you want to be careful and do more measurements when you feed. Do a 1 part starter, 2 part water, 2 part flour on your next time. So that's if it's down the bottom. If you're seeing liquid come up on the top, that's called hooch. It's an alcohol. Don't worry about it. That's actually good, and it means it's healthy. But it just means it's hungry. I'm hungry. I haven't been fed for a while. Just like your stomach acid starts to build up when you're hungry, that's the same thing that's going to happen here. So you're going to, you have a couple choices. You can just let it build and don't worry about it if you're just leaving it in the fridge for a while. I have gone as far as to have it be 2 months old, and I'll have a layer of hooch, about like that much on it, and it starts to get a little gray, and that's okay. You just pour it off if you don't want to. I pour it off when it's that thick. And then I've been able next day make bread. It's amazing. I don't know how this science is beyond me. But you can also, if it's just a little bit, like you'll see just a little bit of residual water on here, it's fine. You can just stir it in and don't even have to remove it. That will actually make it a little more sour and give you just a little bit more depth in your starter. But you definitely can pour it out or whatever, but that just means it's hungry. And so at that point, just know you really should start thinking about feeding your baby. Okay, that's perfectly healthy, perfectly fine. If you see pink in here, throw it out. If you see mold in here, throw it out. I'm sorry, it's gonna suck. You're gonna cry because you're throwing it out. But what I'm gonna tell you is when you get a healthy starter, when you get your starter to be nice and healthy, measure out 50 grams, put it in your freezer when you have it after it's, at the peak. Put it when it's active at the peak, put it in your freezer, and now you have a spare set of your starter, and if your starter goes bad, you don't have to stress out about it. You can also dehydrate it yourself if you have a dehydrator. Do not use the oven. Do not leave it out on the counter. I tried both of those methods to a failure. Dehydrator is the only way to go when you're trying to dehydrate your starter. Just borrow it from a friend. I borrowed mine from my sister, and so there you go. So just know that you might have issues at one point or another. I had one time where I didn't realize that there was a little opening that the fruit flies and gnats could get in, and I was having an issue with, I brought some fruit home from the store, and I had little gnats around my bananas, and guess what? They came into my jar. And once that happened, I probably could have tried to get them out, but I got grossed out, and that whole thing just went away. But I had extra starter. I had extra stuff in the freezer, and so I was fine. I didn't have to stress. So that's the other thing that can happen. So pink and mold, any mold, toss it out. But like I said, make sure you have extra starter in your freezer at all times. The other one is called Calms yeast, and it's CHALMS, something like that. And that one looks a little weird, and it's like kind of like stringy. If that happens, that's not extremely dangerous. If there's just a little bit, you can just scoop it out. But if your whole layer, if the whole thing is covered in, or it's like more than 10 or 15%, you probably do want to throw it out, because that's not really that healthy. So, but it's not like the pink one or the mold, which is actually like really dangerous to eat. That one's just not great. So it's, you can lift it out, but it's not going to contaminate the whole jar. But at that point, I would for sure switch jars, clean jar and everything. And I do frequently switch my jars out. I keep them clean. I don't usually, like this is my discard jar. I will, every so often, I will start a new discard jar and use this to create more starter. All right, I've made so many sourdough loaves with this dehydrated starter I bought about a month ago. Oh, so did you buy Courtney, did you buy the exact same one that I have here from this TikTok shop, or do you have another one you recommend? Because I am like thrilled with this one. I could not believe how fast this one started getting active. I was shocked at how good this was. So I know I have it pinned. It's super cheap too, guys. I don't know if you like do Facebook Marketplace or any of these, and I'll see people selling their active starter. They're ones that are in jars like this, like they'll sell your starter. And I don't know about you, but that kind of grosses me out. And I don't know what's going on. I mean, granted, who knows, right? But this is dehydrated. It's been through a process that is going to be safe. And like I said, I just tested this out, and I am stoked. I have my own dried dehydrated starter, and it's working. That I did for my starter. I don't know how to dehydrate well, so I might have done something wrong, left it too long. I don't know. But mine, I've done 2 full tests with it so that I can make sure I can give it to friends, and it works fine. And this one is working way better than mine, so highly recommend it. Very exciting, Courtney. Isn't it? It's amazing how you can just go from in a couple days have loaves of bread and not have the stress. So again, I'm not a traditionalist when it comes to sourdough. I will tell you things that some people say, oh, don't do that. But I am making amazing breads, and I'm doing it my way, and I'm making it so that it's not stressful to me. Okay. So next up, I am going to put my milk away, and then we are going to talk a little bit, about, I think we're gonna do a stretch and fold, even though it's a little early. I need to wash my hands. I apologize, I have to wash my hands frequently when I'm cooking. I hope you do the same thing too. Makes my hands nice and dry, but it makes me feel better that I'm not contaminating things for people. All right. Okay, so stretch and fold. I'm leaving my hands wet. Okay, I'm leaving my hands wet. So just so you know, when you're doing your sourdough, and there's another mistake I would make, is I would try to do flour. And flour on the hands is much more sticky. So, so this is, you can see, look how nice that is. It's already kind of softened. A lot different than it was just 30 minutes ago when probably hasn't even been 30 minutes. I forgot to put a timer on. You just pull up and you fold it over, okay? So I'm just gonna do this a couple times, pull up and fold over. And you're just essentially kind of exercising the dough, kind of like doing a little stretch, and there's different kinds of methods for doing this. And you can see my hands are should be a little bit more wet. I'm gonna get them a little bit more wet. So you need, when your hands are wet, it doesn't get as sticky on you. See, it's not as much coming off. So you do this a couple times around, and if it resists, stop. So you'll find that this was in the proofing oven, so it really accelerates that process, and that's why I'm using it, because I want it to be accelerated, because I don't want it to be sour. I want this to be a white sandwich bread. So you can see it's starting to resist, so I stop and I fold it over. And I do this a couple rounds around, and that's it. And then I'm going to put this now back in the oven, and I am going to put it in the proof oven and let it sit for 45 minutes. Alexa, set timer for 45 minutes to do stretch and folds. So.
Do stretch and folds timer, 45 minutes.
So in 45 minutes, we're going to come back to this. I don't know if I'll be online at that time, but what I'm going to do with this is we're going to do 45 minutes of stretch and folds. Okay, that didn't work very well. I'm going to do 3 of them. And then I'm going to rest it in the oven, and it is about, let me see, how long did I do it? Until it's doubled. About, it's only after the 3rd stretch and fold, and I honestly I've done only 2 at times, and it's been great. 3 stretch and folds is what I recommend, but I've done it with 2 because I had to leave. An hour and a half to 2 hours if you're in a proofing oven. If you're in an oven where you don't have proof setting, which is don't go above 100 degrees, if you don't have that setting, you can put the light on and you'll get to about 80, 85 degrees. You'll need just a little more time. So you want it to double, and mine will be up to like there. It'll be up to there. And so that means that in 4-5 hours, I can be forming my bread, and in 6 hours about 6 hours, I'll have a delicious loaf of sandwich bread to eat. Again, this sandwich bread is, all of this process I'm doing for the sandwich bread. The ingredients are up there. I don't know if you guys can actually read it. I was trying to make it so I could pin it. I know there's probably better ways. I'll learn how to do those. But all of the process I'm doing here is to make it not sour and to make it fluffy and soft. So that's why I have milk in there. That's why I used oil. I used avocado oil instead of butter. Butter works fine, but in the winter, it coagulates more because the house is colder. So I think in the summer I'll probably be using more butter. I'm using oil right now, so you can do either. Oops, sorry about that. I think I got barking dogs now. Hold on. Let's see. Bark, bark, bark. There, my husband's out in the thing. So we're now going to let that sit for 45 minutes. And if I'm still online, I'll do another set of stretch and folds. All right. So next up, we've been doing the sourdough, and my next step was going to be, okay, is there a translation? I'm sorry. Tahiti, I don't understand Vietnamese. So I don't think I have a translation. Let me see if I don't have a way to try and do translations. Hold on. Let me translate this into Google Translate. Okay. And this is, you stand in the most visible place, so when I come, you can dodge. That's what the translation means. I don't know if that's what that means. So when I come, okay, I don't know what that means. I appreciate whatever you're trying to say, but I wish I knew what you meant. So sourdough, we're done talking. Unless you guys have questions, feel free to keep asking me questions about the sourdough. But we're going to start talking about vanilla. So I'm just going to move a few of these things aside to get them out of my way. And we are going to move some things aside because we don't need all this mess for vanilla. Vanilla is a little different of a beast. So I got into extracts during COVID, which is, I should have done sourdough. I didn't do that until 22 or so. So I should have been into sourdough earlier. I just didn't want to fall for it. I don't know what my problem was. Okay, so I don't need this. I don't need any of this stuff. All right. So here we go. I'm just putting some stuff aside. All right, so vanilla. I am going to pin the vanilla extract that is the most common and is the one that if I was to come from I actually bought this from the TikTok shop, and I was pleasantly surprised with it. Well, I had like one of those 30% off TikTok shop coupons, and they had a deal, and so I wound up buying a bunch of vanilla from them and making a bunch of vanilla. So what I did was I've I've been experimenting. I'm a little crazy. So these are all these vanillas I just started within the last 2-3 months. So they're not ready yet. Vanilla extract, do not let people lie to you. It is not ready in a month. It is not ready in 3 months. It is not ready in 6 months, 12 months. Unless you're going to do a sous vide, you're talking 12 months. Okay, so when you're doing an extract for vanilla, what you're going to be doing is all you're doing is mixing your vanilla beans with alcohol. Okay, that's it. You need to let it sit in there and actually extract it out. There are ways to speed it up. I do my vanilla beans whole. You can split the beans, you can chop up the beans, and that will give you a little bit faster, but really, you really want to go 12 to 18 months. Some are as long as 18 months. Yes, I did say that, 18 months. So you may be behind the 8 ball for doing gifts, but I'll tell you how I did it when I did it too late. So the reason why I do the whole beans is because I like to use the caviar inside. The caviar inside the bean, let me just take one of these beans out. I pinned, did I pin one of these? I think I pinned one of these. These are, oh, I did not pin this. Let me add this because this thing is, showcase products. And okay, I'm going to pin this and add products. Okay. I use the Voss water bottles. These are Voss water bottles, and I just buy them for the bottle because these make the most easiest bottles to use. So that's when I want to do my $3 one. So I do whole because what you can do with it, I'm going to just pull this out and get some scissors, and I'm going to show you, well, if I have scissors that would be useful. Get a paper towel, or maybe I'll just get like a little plate. That'll be good enough. Okay. I just don't want to make a mess here. Okay, I'm going to move these bottles out of the way so you can see. Okay. So when I need to use the caviar, just snip the top. Okay, why is my, oh. Yeah, I'm just making a mess here. Snip the top, and now I'm gonna get close so you can see this. I don't want to make the mess. So that's the caviar. That doesn't have a whole lot of vanilla flavor. Okay, that is what you see in like vanilla bean ice cream. That's what you're seeing, is that it doesn't have a lot of vanilla flavor. The vanilla flavor is in this part. So when I say split, you're literally going like this and splitting it in half. And what you're doing when you do this is you're actually losing that caviar into your extract. Okay, you can see it's just still spilling out. You can also go like this and scrape to get more caviar out. Okay, that's more caviar. But the wet beans, the grade A beans, so these are the ones that we're using. Most of the caviar, all I did was you saw that, I just squeezed it, just a tip and squeeze, okay? So I'm putting these back in my jar. And no, you saw that stringiness, that's part of the vanilla. Don't worry, that's not hair or anything gross. That's normal. But these tongs, which I just pinned, are great for getting them in and out. And if you don't have that Voss bottle, you can use, I have a little bit too much extract, but they will be gifts. You can use your bottle of vodka, and this is an old, I'm not using Smirnoff anymore for you can, any alcohol you want to use. But you try getting those vanilla beans out of this thin little space. So these things come in such handy just to grab, and you can actually grab your beans. So that's that. So now one of the things that I did recently was I bought a bunch of beans off the TikTok shop last a while ago. And then I bought some from the co-op that I have, and then I bought some from a retail store. so I could test the different ones. I don't know why. And then I put it in different alcohol. So I put some in the vodka that I usually use, which is the Kirkland French vodka is what I like to use. And then I put some in Bacardi, and then I put some in Havana rum, so a little higher, different rum. And then I just kind of put where I got it from and what the cost was. So these range from, this one was $3 an ounce to $18 an ounce. So this $18 an ounce is the Mexican vanilla beans, Mexican, it's just, I can't remember what, it's just Mexican, I believe. And then this one was, this is a grade B Papa Nagui, and this one was off the TikTok shop. This one was only $4.30. This one was only $3, but I think regularly was probably close to $6 an ounce. And this one is $6 an ounce. So there's different ways to get your beans, but I was really pleasantly surprised with the beans from the TikTok shop from Slow Food Groups, I believe. Again, these are purchased. This is not me doing any. I didn't get anything for free, or I'm not getting anything out of it other than that one's like very little commission again. But so if it's something that you're interested in doing vanilla, this is the perfect way for you to do it. Okay, so these beans I got from a co-op. So there's different co-ops where you can join, and then they do large group orders. Oh my God, this smells so good. So the co-op comes like this, and it comes in a plastic bag. And I got 2 pounds. I don't need 2 pounds. You see how much? I have way more in there too in my cabinet, but I got 2 pounds. So the ones that come from the TikTok shop, they'll come in a vacuum sealed. So really nice if you're not ready to use it within a couple days. The vacuum seal will keep them fresh for a couple weeks and probably even longer. You do want to put them in alcohol as soon as you can, but just know that is that, you know, the ones you're getting from the TikTok shop are much better in that sense that they are vacuum sealed, and you can keep them that way a little bit longer. So I have a bottle. I need to go grab my alcohol real quick because I forgot to buy alcohol, but I'm sure I have something I can use. Just give me a second. And so I'm back. Sorry about that. I have a couple different options here. I've got some Absolute vodka. Actually, probably isn't Absolute, and I got some Bacardi. Okay, the type of alcohol I prefer is clear, and I have a reason for that. Because the minute you start with a colored alcohol, you're not going to be able to see the color of your extract. So this is not ready, but if I had started with a caramel colored alcohol like a bourbon or a whiskey or even a dark rum, it is much harder to see. So this one is with a somewhat darker rum, and you can see it looks darker, and it started at the same time. It's not darker, it's just that it looks that way. So I have 2 bottles. I'm gonna do both, one with Bacardi and one with the vodka. So I do both, and I'm kind of testing both ones. One of what I think I'm going to do is at Christmas time we do games on Christmas instead of doing presents. We do game day, and everybody gets to pick something or activity. And so that's what I'm going to do. Now this would hold, so it can hold up to 3 cups of alcohol, which I don't think I have 3 cups of either of these alcohols. So what I'm going to be doing first is measuring my alcohol so I know where I'm starting from. So this is 2 cups. Okay, so I have 2 cups of alcohol. Now, you've got single fold, double fold, triple fold. What is that? Well, it depends on how strong you want it and how rich you want it. Single fold is typical what you'll hear, and essentially it's 1 ounces of beans to 1 cup of alcohol. And then this is weighed, by the way, so you're weighing them. Don't fall into, oh, you just put a couple beans in your bottle and let it go. You're going to just wind up with vanilla vodka, which is what I made here on purpose. This is vanilla vodka. See how light in color that is? Yes, it smells amazing. This is like, oh, it smells great. But it's vanilla vodka. It's not vanilla. So don't fall for that. Measure your alcohol to vanilla bean ratio. So since I only have 2 cups of Bacardi in here, that means I like to do a double fold. I find that is the best. It gives you the best ratio. It makes it strong. And then triple fold is just too much. It's too much volume. It's just too hard. So I have my 2 cups. So that means I need 4 ounces of my vanilla beans. And I'm going to measure those out. And you will find that if you know what you plan on doing, like say you know, if you want a Voss bottle, you know, you can do up to 3 cups. This 3 cups fits in here to the rim. You can do 3 cups of alcohol, so you can just order 6 ounces. Have the Voss bottle, 3 cups of alcohol, and you just order 6 ounces. Then you don't have to measure anything, and you know exactly what you've got. So I am going to measure my beans, and I need to zero that out. So I want to get this. So I'll be going to the store and getting, actually Costco is where the best place to get the alcohol. I need to change my unit to ounces. Okay, and so I need 4 ounces. And the other reason why you don't do it by bean is because there's different bean sizes. I don't know if you saw that bean that was there, but look, this bean is the Madagascar bourbon planifolia vanilla bean. It's kind of small, right? You can see that it's kind of small. If I cut into it, this isn't going to have a huge amount of caviar like that other one. So you can see there's going to be some that come out. Oh, this is pretty dry actually. So these ones are not that great in terms of the caviar aspect of it, but these ones are going to make good vanilla. Just different, right? So these are all, that's the thing to note, is it's all about flavors and different things. These are a little smaller, a little thinner, not as juicy as some of the others. So for this one, it's probably going to take, well, I'll count it for, let me just do an ounce. Let me just get to an ounce, and then we'll count. So you can see how many beans there are. Okay, one more out. Okay, so this is about an ounce, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 beans. Okay, so I have some in here in one of these jars that were literally like this big and like this thick. I've never seen, I can't remember what the type of vanilla bean was. I was just getting all kinds of stuff off the co-op whenever they had it. And it would literally be 2 beans, 2, 3 beans. So don't do bean count, is what I'm trying to explain. It's about the weights and measures. So I do double fold, and so I am going to do 2 cups there, and I am going to do 4 ounces. So 2 cups of alcohol to 4 ounces. And I have one more bean I can do on there. Right, I'm at 4 ounces now. So this is like literally so simple. It's just put your beans in, and then put in your alcohol, and that's it. And then you're going to just every so often shake it up, and you're going to every so often, you know, kind of look at it and smell it and go, oh my God, it smells so good. And in a 12 to 18 months, depending upon the type of bean you have, you're going to have it ready to speed up the process. You can try chopping it up. It might be ready faster, but honestly, I didn't find that to be the case. Some people swear by that. I've done it. I didn't see that to be the case. You can use a sous vide method. So go online and you can even just ask ChatGPT or Gemini how to sous vide. And, oh yeah, I'm making a big old mess. Isn't that nice? Probably not the best. I'm not doing the best here. Let's try another method. Let's try this. This one's works better. This one is much better. I don't know why that one doesn't pour as well. Okay. The other thing to note is you want the alcohol to go past the beans. You want the beans to be fully in the alcohol. So what I mean is if you're doing a double fold, and say I put in my 2 cups and it's not covering it, add more alcohol to cover it. If you only are doing a single fold, well, then you need more beans and fill it up. So essentially cover it and then just get a few more beans later, or let it go longer, and it will eventually, you probably won't have a super strong one, but it'll work. So now that's it. That's all you do. And what I do is I'll mark this to say this one is the Bacardi one, and I'll write down the date. So like this. This is just because I do this. If you're only doing it once, you don't. I say how much alcohol, I say how many ounces of what type of beans, and I say what kind of alcohol I'm doing. And then I'm also writing where I got it from and the cost. So I really want to know, does the cost of the beans affect the quality of the extract? I really don't think it does. I think the alcohol you use is going to play more of a part in it, and I don't think you need to have you don't need to have like a lot of alcohol, but I mean a high-end alcohol, but I'm trying that as well. So I am doing 3 cups of, I think I got 3 cups exactly, almost. Okay, 3 cups. Got like a little, So we got 3 cups, and now we're gonna get some more vanilla beans, and we're gonna put them in here. And where did I put my vanilla beans? Put them back here. So now this one, because I did 3 cups, I can do up to 6 ounces, right? So, all right, come on, clear. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit more, and there we go. And so vanilla is the simplest of the extracts. You can do, I'll start with cinnamon extract. Okay, so cinnamon extract, you can actually just go by, I believe there's probably cinnamon online that you can use. I'm just going to throw this, it's getting too piled high. I'm going to do 4 ounces and then do another 2 ounces off to the side. Pull this off and make it, okay. Oh, maybe I'll just go up. So cinnamon extract. It's the same process. You just put your cinnamon in and let it sit in alcohol. The difference with the cinnamon extract is if you leave the cinnamon in there for too long, it will start to turn bitter. So what I do is I'll do a batch of extract with, and I don't measure. I would fill the cinnamon to look like that, and then fill it up with alcohol and shake it every day or so. And in about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, I would take out the cinnamon sticks and add another batch. I double did it. And this is my cinnamon extract. Can you see how dark that is? And I don't know if you can see that this is a red color. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is a red color. I don't know if you guys can see that. The sticks are brown, and then it comes out red. I never knew that. I never knew that's why people think of red as a cinnamon color. There we go. Okay, so that one's easy, but you just do, after I do 2 weeks, change it out, and then 2 weeks, and that's all you need. And you'll have this most amazing cinnamon extract that you can use if you like Mexican mochas, or anything like that where you put cinnamon in your coffee or hot drinks. What I don't like is the powder. The dried cinnamon is much more difficult. It's not palatable to me. That powdery taste. And but the extract, so good because it's got all the flavor without that powdery residue. And so it does have alcohol in it, just like vanilla does. And so you don't want to put a big old shot in there, and you're going to have a nice little morning for yourself. Well, maybe you do want to do that. I don't know. But it makes it so much easier to do. So then the next extract is the almond extract. It is not made from almonds. Almond extract is not made from almonds. So just know that you will, with the almond extract, it is the kernel inside the stone fruits pit. It is not the pit. The pit is actually is made from I can't remember what, is it arsenic? Something like that. Bad for you. The pit is bad. Don't eat that. But you crack open the pit and it looks like a little almond inside. It's not an almond, but it looks like an almond. That's the kernel. And you want to, there's some, go online and actually get the full process. But you kind of clean that off and you can toast it or whatever. And that's what I did. I think I rinsed this. It's been like 4 or 5 years since I did, 4 years since I did this. Shoot, maybe, yeah, about 4.5 years. And you rinse it off, and then you just soak it in the alcohol. Again, it doesn't take as long as vanilla. And you might want to repeat that a couple times. And I don't know how that smells like almonds, but it's what we think of as almond extract. It is not made from almonds, and I still to this day am not sure I understand why. It looks like an almond, and maybe that's why it's called almond extract, but there isn't a single almond in almond extract. If you try to take almonds and turn it into an extract, you will be sorely disappointed. It will do nothing. It'll just be blah. Okay, so that's almond extract. That one's a fun one to do, but how often do you need it unless you really are into almond flavored things? If you like almond, if you like to do like a poppy seed muffins and with an almond kind of hint of almond, that's perfect. So it is one of those things. Or if you make your own marzipan or something like that, it's good. Then you've got you've got things like the citrus fruits. Now, the citrus fruits one, again, if you do it wrong, it's going to be bitter. So when you have an orange, or I don't know if I have an orange or a lemon or a lime, I'll look and I'll show you the difference. And as soon as I'm done being really slow with putting these in here, I don't know why I'm doing it like this. Do it like this. So for the orange and the lemon and lime and any of the fruits, you could probably even do grapefruit or whatever. You don't want any of the pith. The pith is that white stuff. So you have the outer layer, which is what you would normally zest, and that's what you're going to use. And then you have the white layer, which is pith. The pith is going to make your extract bitter and icky. You don't want that. So you need to essentially take off just the colored part, the part that you're going to zest. And you can do it in different ways. I like to just use a peeler and peel it into large pieces because it's faster for me. I've tried doing grating it with the zester, and I don't know, it didn't work as well for me. So I just would do a grater, and I just put them into long strip peels, make sure that there's no white on them. And then those one, again, you cover for 2-3 weeks, and you can do another round. I like to do 2 rounds. I am making a big old mess with this. Well, my counter's going to be sanitized. That's for sure. All right. So there we go. So this one's the vodka, same beans, and we're good to go. It's going to be easy for me to tell the difference because here, I'll just do both of these. So this one is vodka, and this one is the vodka and rum. So anyways, so the orange and the lime. I did orange, lime, and lemon. I have the orange, my lime. I don't know where my here. Here's the orange. Really nice, pretty color. This is the almond, and there's still some residue. I probably could have strained this one a little bit better. I mean, you can strain it or not. People tend to like it to be strained. This is the lime. Looks similar to the orange, but this is the lime. And these are great for if you're trying to pump up things like, perfect for icings. You want to do an icing that is, you just want to do like a lemon icing. You're going to want to use an extract, and you want to add some lemon zest to it. So instead of just no extract, you use the lemon extract and lemon zest, and you're going to get the most beautiful, beautiful icing. You can put it in your baked goods as well. You can put it if you like lemon in your tea. You can throw that in there if you don't have any lemon. It can be used for a lot of different things. Okay, so why so many vanilla beans? Because I am crazy. Is there a reason? Yes, there's a reason I use the Voss bottles, because they're easy, and they're easy, and they are taller So a lot of times you get tall beans, and I think I was mentioning that earlier. So for example, let me see some of these beans. So some of these beans are a little on the taller side, and this one just is popping up. I should probably top this off. You don't want your beans to not be in alcohol. So if you do something that's bigger, and you do the weights, you weigh it, and you pour in the alcohol, and it's not enough alcohol to cover your bean, you're going to need to add more alcohol to do that, so that way your beans don't get moldy. If they're showing before they've actually done a soak of alcohol and aren't they don't have the alcohol in them, then you're going to wind up with potentially getting mold on your beans, on the top of the beans, and you don't want that. So you want them fully covered. And so when they're fully covered, it's easier to do it in the Voss bottles because it stands them straight up, and it's easy to put in my cabinet. I'll show you. I was doing it this way before, and I was just using my vodka bottles. And actually, I liked the Sky vodka bottles because they had the dark color, but I just keep them in my pantry. But for one thing, this is so small, a lot smaller, so it's harder to get the beans in and out. They're really tall. So, I mean, I wind up having to put a lot more alcohol bean ratio in this bottle than I need to. So I prefer this. They're easier to put in the pantry. I'm doing multiple types, so I'm labeling the date and what type. I'm planning on at Christmas doing a little blind taste testing to see what people like, to see if it makes a difference, if anybody can notice. One of my best friends, she's like, I want to do it, but I only want to do Mexican, and I want it to be from Mexico. So I bought $18 vanilla beans, and I bought an expensive Havana rum. I couldn't find a Mexican rum here, the best I could get. And so that's why I'm like, we're going to try it with her expensive stuff and my cheap stuff and the middle of the road stuff. So I've got beans that are priced between $3 and $18 an ounce. The $3 an ounce really wasn't $3. It's just because I had discounts. It was one of those, I got like a 30 or 40% off discount at the shop, and then there was a discount at Slow Foods. That's the first time I had bought some of their beans. Half of these beans are Slow Food beans. Half of them are through a co-op that I joined. It's a Facebook group and co-op that you can pre-order, and they do the orders in bulk, so it is a lot cheaper. So that's why I do the Voss bottles. Let's see, how long does it take to make a batch? Okay, to do what I just did, seconds, right? Just to put it together, 12 months if you do the standard way. If you're doing a standard vanilla bean, the bourbon, the Madagascar, those ones are going to tend to be 12 months. There are some beans that are, I can't remember the name of, they were like big and fat and wild. Those ones were 18 months before they were ready. You can make it faster by doing a sous vide, and I did that, and it works really well. About 3-4 days in a sous vide bath. I don't remember the temperature, go look online. It sped it up by, I was able to then at 3 to 4 months have it be ready. And actually, even after the sous vide, you could probably have kept it in the sous vide until it was ready, and you could probably speed it up a lot. And that might be what they do in the commercial, because I don't think that commercially they can just let things sit for a whole year. So I'm sure that they do something like a sous vide, and that's probably the best way to do it. But if you want to make it faster, what I do, like these ones that I'm making today, they're not going to be ready at Christmas, right? So I will probably sous vide this if I want to use them for that Christmas thing. But a lot of times I gift, so I'm going to be gifting bottles of vanilla, and I try to give larger bottles. You can do small bottles for your friends or whatever, but I'm a little crazy, so I have way too much vanilla. So what I'll do is, if for some reason this is not ready, right, and it's close, it's about 10 months, I will throw beans in the bottle that I'm doing with, and I will put and I'll put obviously the vanilla extract in there, and I will write on a date when it's ready to use. So for this one, since today is, what is today, the 22nd, I'll say ready to use February 22nd, 2026. And then that way they can, if they want to use it, they can. but that's how I get away with doing it later in the year and still gifting the bottle. And if you are doing that, make sure you get bottles that are tall enough to fit your beans. One of the other reasons I don't cut my beans is because a lot of people will see those little black, the caviar floating. This is the caviar right here, right? This is the caviar we pulled out earlier at one of the beans. So they'll see that floating around and it looks dirty, and I don't like it looking dirty. Even though it's caviar, it's just, you don't really think about it that way. So you want it to be clear. You want it to look clean. And so that's why I don't cut my beans and I don't split my beans. You can split your beans, you can chop your beans to try and make it go faster. You're never going to get it faster than 6 to 8 months, really, and that still may not even be a super strong extract, at least for my preferences. At about 12 to 18 months, pull the beans out and you can put in more alcohol. That's one of the reasons I do like doing the double fold as well, is because it gives me more beans to use the next time to make more extract. So this one is a second extract that I started. This one I wrote the date, but yeah, I started this one in December, on December 23rd. It's a second extract. So essentially what I did was I had used up, I made this big batch of extract in this bottle, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to put more alcohol in it and fill it up. And now, it's going to be able to be a second extract. And the second extract you want to put in at double fold. So, if you do 1-to-1, then let's say you do 4 ounces of vanilla beans and 4 cups of alcohol, and you just do, you're just doing equal, you're going to wind up having to only put in 2 cups of alcohol to do the second extract, because you only do 4 so you want to do half, and so that's not going to be enough to cover the beans. So I do double fold, so then when I put in the alcohol, I know that I've got enough beans in there to do it. So that's what we got. So anyways, so that's what we have. So anybody else have any other questions about extract or about sourdough? How much more time on my timer? Ooh, we're almost getting there. We have about 8 minutes before we're going to do the next stretch and fold on the thing. What's the point of making vanilla? Oh, if you don't want to see, I do want to see the seeds when I'm in the baking phase. So what I do, so I'm going to show you what I do, why I keep them whole. So I want to control when I see it and when I don't. So let's get a bean, get a couple beans. So you can see these are different sized beans. These ones are big and thick. It's thicker than the other ones I just got. Different types, different flavors, different things. So put that one back in there. Go back in there. This is, I think I have this pinned. No, I don't have it pinned. I'm going to pin this real quick. These things are the most useful. These things are the most useful. Okay, so when I want to see the caviar, ice cream, baked goods, whatever it is, what I do is I just take it. This one I think has already been snipped. And I take and snip it at the top, and then I just squeeze it out. And then I use this fresh, and you can control how much caviar. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? I got to do something with this plate today because I'm wasting it all. And then I just put the bean back in. I put the little end that I just clipped off back in. And then that'll continue to extract without a problem. You will get some residual of the little beans, but I know I'm a little weird. I just worry. I don't know. I'm just a little weird. So I tend to do it that way. So that's why I like to keep them whole, because I control when and where I use the caviar. The drier caviar. What about barrel aging extract? I've never tried barrel aging extract. Do it. Try it. I think it's going to be, most of the time what you would want to do instead is just use a barrel-aged alcohol, and then just let it go for 18 months, and you're going to get probably an amazing flavor. But I'd have never tried doing extract in anything other than glass. So if you have done it, have you done it? Todd, have you done it? how do you make other flavors? Oh, okay, I was talking about the other flavors in the back. So we'll start with, well, let's see, let's start with these other flavors. So we have 3, 4, I have 4 back here. I have another one that's basically the same. Okay, so cinnamon is my second favorite. Sometimes my favorite, mostly just to smell. So cinnamon extract is very simple. You can use any type of cinnamon. Well, I shouldn't say that. You want to use the Ceylon cinnamon, not the. There's 2 types. So get the one that's better for you. One is actually going to cause you to be a little bit more indigestion, and like I think that's why some of the like fireballs and things like that, some of those can be bad because they're using the wrong kind of cinnamon, make you vomit. But Ceylon, I cannot say that word. Ceylon, whatever it is, cinnamon is the one you want to use. And all you do is you just put a bottle, and this one is not, it's not like vanilla where you have to have it covered, but you do want to cover it so you can actually utilize all the cinnamon. You're going to cover it with alcohol and let it sit and kind of shake it up and, you know, burp it every so often, every couple days for about 2 to 3 weeks. And then I take that out and then I put in a new batch and I do 2 batches of that. So it takes about 4 to 6 weeks. Again, you could probably sous vide this and make it faster. So that's cinnamon. And if you leave it in for too long, just know you might wind up with more of a bitter flavor. So that's just you know, a fair warning. I don't really know that for sure because I haven't done any tests of leave one in and take one out. But look at this color for the cinnamon. It's beautiful. Look at that. This is, I don't know if you can see the color. It is just absolutely gorgeous. Put a light on behind me. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. It's this red color, and it is amazing. So, and it smells like heaven. And this one is great in coffee, any drinks that you use that you don't want that powdery residue. It's great if you're trying to make a cinnamon flavored icing, if you're trying to make a cinnamon drink, alcoholic drink, you know, if anything that you would do with Fireball that you don't want to have sugar, like say you're trying to go low sugar and there's something that has cinnamon in it, it uses Fireball, you can use this. I also use this to make my own cinnamon syrup. So I'll use this and half water and boil it with sugar and make a cinnamon syrup with it. Oh my God, that is so good. That's even better in your coffee. Okay, so that's cinnamon. And then we've got the I've got an orange and a lime. They look very similar, but they are different. They're in orange, lime, lemon. I've never done grapefruit, but any of the citrus is going to be the same thing. You need to take the peel off, no pith. The pith is the white part. So if you take I usually just use a peeler, and I'm very cautious and don't have any white, and then I'll scrape off any white that I do. And again, you're going to fill it up. I usually will fill up to about here with peels. And again, these ones don't need to matter in here because you can put them in any container. You can put them in. I was doing them in just mason jars, and that's fine. And then for that one, you're going to do the same thing. 2 to 3 weeks. You're going to leave it, kind of shake it up, and then you're going to do 2 rounds of that to make a really nice strong extract. 1 round will be fine. 2 rounds is better. Again, no white. White will make this bitter and nasty, and you will not want to use it. So super simple. Just get the peel, and this is a great time to do it because a lot of the fruit, especially out here in California, all of the limes and lemons and oranges are kind of at the tail end, and you might just need to use them up. Great way to do it. You know, you can juice. What I do is I will peel, take the peel off, and then juice it, and then freeze the juice or do whatever you want with the juice. So that way, if you try to juice it first and then try to take the peel off, it doesn't work. So that's the orange. And then the next one is almond extract. Is not made from almonds. I don't understand this. This one is the one that just drives me crazy. It smells so amazing. And it is not made from almonds. It's made from the kernel inside of a stone fruit. So the kernel is inside of the stone pit. You crack the pit open and you open it up, and inside there's this little tiny thing that looks like an almond. It is not an almond, but it looks like one. Maybe that's why they call it almond extract. It looks like an almond, and you clean that up, and you know, and then you use it in. Go online and follow the instructions because I haven't done this one for a while. So definitely follow the instructions in terms of how to prepare it, because the pit is actually a carcinogen. You don't want to eat anything off the pit. It will make you sick. you want to do the right thing and just use the kernel. That's something you'll probably do more in the summer when you have your peaches. It's even in cherries, but they're so tiny, it's so hard to use. Peaches, apricots, nectarines, any stone fruit will have a little kernel and can be done with this. And so the same thing is you're going to do 2 batches. At least that's how I do it. You'll put it in, cover it with alcohol, 2 to 3 weeks, dump it, and do another round. And this is what we think of as almond extract, and I don't know why. There's no almonds, and if you try to use almonds, you can't. You can buy the kernels online. Alexa, stop. You can buy the kernels. You can buy the kernels online, so you don't have to do them yourself. At that point, though, I don't know if it's worth it to do it yourself, unless it's just more of a curiosity from a cost perspective. But I mean, extracts are extremely expensive, so maybe it is. I've never bought them. You can get it barrels for about $35 online. Ooh, Todd. Only aged bourbon in the white oak barrels. Ooh, yes. I think that would be really okay. Todd, you got to start doing a something where you video this and tell us how it's going. So what about the barrel aging? Okay. Yeah. So Todd, I think definitely you can try that. I'm gonna have to look at that. You're gonna make me crazy now. You're gonna add another crazy into my list. My husband, you don't even know how much more I have in the back there. I've got another probably 4 types that I'm doing for testing. It's gonna be like 8 to 10 bottles of like this much in each bottle for doing our little taste testing at Christmas next year. So that's vanilla and that's extract. So Todd, that sounds really exciting. 5 now. What does 5 now mean? 5 now what? 5 now what? What does 5 mean? I don't know what that means. Okay, 5 now. You can do it about 35. You mean $5 for a barrel? To buy a barrel? Okay, send me that link. I want that. I don't know if you can send links in the chat, but if you can, if there's a $5 barrel, I might have to try that with one of these. Or with, I have all these vanilla beans over here that I haven't used yet that I have to go buy alcohol for today. So we'll do that. So now we're switching back to sourdough. I'm going to do a quick wash of my hands. I'm going to leave them wet, and we're going to do a stretch and fold. And you guys are going to see what the stretch and fold looks like. And again, I wash my hands like a crazy person because I think it's safer to wash your hands frequently when you're cooking. I just do wind up with a lot of dry hands, so lotion is important for that. Okay, so I'm going to get my dough. Now this dough is only about an hour and a half old, and you can see it. I put it in the proofing oven. So this is my sandwich loaf. The ingredients are up there. You can see how nicely this is coming. This is really coming up really nicely. This bread is so soft and so nice. I am like enthralled with it. My sister, I'll show you the bread pan that I'm using. It's called a Pullman loaf that she knew more than me. She's my older sister, so she's the smart one in the family. I'm just the kind of crazy one. There we go. So I'm just doing stretch and folds. That's all I'm doing is I'm just lifting until it resists, stopping, and folding it over. There's a thing called a coil fold, which I've never been able to truly master. You kind of come up, and then you fold it over. It doesn't seem to do as much for me. And then this way it comes that doesn't work as well for me. So that's enough for me to do. And I'm going to put it back in the oven, and I'm going to set another timer. Alexa, set timer for 45 minutes to do stretch and folds.
To stretching timer, 45 minutes, starting now.
Okay, so this is in a proofing oven. You can do it with an oven with the light on. If the oven with the light on, the final phase will take a little longer, probably closer to 2.5 to 3 hours. But I'm essentially doing 3 sets of stretch and folds and waiting about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and this will be really doubled. So we're kind of just at the second. That was the second stretch and fold. So that's where that one is at. I probably will not stay on live for that whole, for finishing up the stretch and fold, because I don't think you guys want to be on live for another 45 minutes. Oh, maybe you do. I don't know. If you like this live, send me some hearts if you can. I would love that. I love the comments. Oh, sorry, $40 a bottle. Okay, yeah, Todd, I thought $40, $5 a bottle. I'm doing it. The Voss bottles are expensive on their own. Yeah, I know they are, but I do reuse them. And you can do other bottles, of course. You can, like I said, you can use your alcohol bottle as well. But what I suggest you do is pour out the alcohol, weigh your beans, put your beans in here, and then pour in the right amount of alcohol. And I do double fold, so for every 1 cup of alcohol, it's 2 ounces of vanilla beans. Weigh them out or buy them pre-weighed so that we know what you're using. You can use any glass bottle, but be careful. There are people that have had their bottles explode because they'll use pretty bottles that are not food grade. So it needs to be a food grade bottle. Just know that. And you want to, every so often go in and open them up and let them breathe. And well, not really let them breathe. Smell them. Because even at this stage, this one's a second extract, meaning I've already extracted once, and I'm doing a second one on this, with those beans. This one is only 2 months old and it still smells amazing. The other thing I was going to show you is vanilla vodka. So this one I just put a couple beans in, and so I kept buying absolute vanilla or all of these expensive, like, why am I doing that? I can just have my own vanilla and it's perfect. It's not going to be super strong, but it gives you that hint of vanilla that you need for the alcoholic drinks, mostly espresso martinis, which sounds really good. Link above. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Todd. That is awesome. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Okay, what's my, okay, I think I've got, yeah, I'm a crazy person with vanilla, just so you know. And my husband does not always throw with me, so I throw it in the back of the pantry where he can't see how much I actually have. He'll see it come in and he won't, and then he'll forget about it. That's what I keep telling myself. So this one is my second extract. This bottle here is what I call my mother jar. So this one is one that I have too many beans. I need to actually do something more with the beans. But this one is just as I top off when I go and I'll have. I just top this one off every so often with extra beans or whatever, and this just is the one that I'm using right now. So this is the only vanilla I actually have that is usable right now, and this one's been topped off a couple times with alcohol or with other bottles that were almost empty and put it together. So this is the only one that I actually currently have that's actually usable. The rest of them are in different states of rising. So that's that. I am going to pin the vanilla again to the top so you guys can see that. All right, so we are at the vanilla and the sourdough stage. If anybody wants me to go back and talk more about sourdough starters and things, please let me know. All of my lives I put on YouTube, and I believe my link is in the bio. So I've been putting all these lives on YouTube. Only one of them got muted because I had music playing in the background, and apparently that was considered a copyright violation. So you'll see me talking, and nothing was coming out. So that one, it might be up there, so I apologize for that one. I learned my lesson. That was one of my first lives. I thought it'd be fun to have the music going, but I guess not a good idea if you actually want it to be used elsewhere for that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is, this is one that I will get a commission on, and it is the Momofuku noodles. My husband is Chinese, so we do a lot of Chinese food. Get a lot of our stuff from the Chinese grocery store. We do, the Chinese grocery store has a lot of different dried Asian noodles. Not all of them are ramen based. Some of them are, like this, where it's a noodle dish that you make from a dried noodle. But these ones, I'll be honest, I tried these because I had a pretty good sale on them, and I was like, oh, let me try them, and oh my God, I'm in love with them for a quick meal. I will take some, I'll marinate some meat, and when I have my previous live, I actually did it. You can actually see me making the whole dish from marinated meat all the way in. And in 30 minutes, even if your meat's not marinated, I use either I prefer ground pork, but you can use ground beef, you can use ground chicken, ground turkey, whatever ground meat you want. Heck, you can even, one of them I even did rotisserie chicken, right? So you don't even have to do that, but some sort of meat. And then I'll do some sort of vegetable. I usually like Napa cabbage, bok choy, maybe some spinach. I'll stir fry those up, and I'll just build a bowl with the noodles made per package, and I'll put in like a dollop of the ground meat. I'll put a little bit of vegetables. I'll put some green onions, some cilantro. Sometimes I'll take tofu and I'll make some fried tofu and put those on top. And it makes a perfect weeknight meal. I do get a commission on this if you buy it through here, but you don't have to buy it through me. But I think that if you like something quick and easy, this is really, really, and quality. I was very impressed. My husband loves it, and he's Chinese, so he gives a thumbs up on it. We make it probably about once every 2 to 3 weeks. Usually for lunch, sometimes for dinner if I'm really tired and don't want to make anything. Sometimes if I have leftover meats and veggies, we'll do that. Like I said, I did it with rotisserie chicken, and what I did with the vegetables is I'll cut them up kind of thick so that they are like bite-sized pieces but kind of thicker. And in a little bit of oil, I will stir fry the bok choy and cabbage, and then I'll add a little bit of soy sauce and a little bit of rice wine vinegar to them, and cook them up, and then pull them out. When I pull them out, there's going to be some residual liquid. I don't use that liquid. What I did was I took my rotisserie chicken, and then, because was left over from Costco chicken in the fridge, I cut it up, and I just cooked it in there to warm it up, and to give it some flavor, and then I use that in my bowl, along with the veggies and the green onions and cilantro. Those are my 2 things I have to. If you don't do cilantro, I know it tastes like soap, but it doesn't to me, so I love it. Food by TikTok. Can I sell Sourdough+Starter in another category other than food? I don't know. And I don't even know if TikTok knows whether you're allowed to. So that's going to be more of a cottage laws based on in your county, and those are local laws. I don't know if those are governed by TikTok. So you might want to, maybe you can reach out to I'm going to pin it again. If they're nice, they might be nice. The Sourdough+Starter, maybe you can ask them or look them up and see what kind of licensing they have. I really don't know. How do you get approved for the food category? I don't know yet. I know you do have to have a tax ID number, so either an EIN or something like that is in a business name. So you need to get your a business license, your DBA in your local region, and then you can apply for an EIN number with the IRS. And then once you have that, you can go to TikTok Seller Center and sign up for that, and you will show your paperwork for your tax ID number, and you have to, essentially it's not that hard to get approved for the seller thing. I don't know if each category you have to get approved for. I don't know. So in terms of buying food off of the TikTok shop, I don't know if there's any regulations. I haven't looked that up. So I think I am nearing my end. I really appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for all the love, the hearts. More hearts, the better. The gifts give me some clout in some of these. They have some contests. I don't even really know I don't know what half this stuff is. So TikTok live on air. So I'm going to tap the screen. I apologize for this. Oh, Thursday at 5. So I don't know what that means. So I get these little weird things up at top. There's like this little chili pepper. I don't know what that is. I think that's a gift. I don't understand the gifts yet. So I don't understand what any of those are. But I appreciate all of the extra hearts that you guys can give. And I am going to be closing this off. I said 2 hours. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes. And so I really enjoyed this time. I hope you guys had fun. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Moki Pond, Not So Perfect, Todd, and we have Pride, Dubé, Not So Perfect Portia, Ty, which I didn't understand, Courtney, Dylan, Lincoln, Rebecca, Catty, Tuxedo, I love that name, and Voila, and GT Oki, and Spencer. I appreciate all of your comments. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate having more interaction and having a lot more time to kind of show off some of the things that I'm a little bit crazy and passionate about. I'm crazy. I have craziness. I am crazy in the head. And this vanilla, as you can see, is all the extracts. Is my crazy. I went crazy during COVID with extract. I didn't get into the sourdough until after everybody was back, you know, in a normal stage. Probably in 22 is when I started getting into extract and getting into sourdough. So this is just a portion of some of my extracts. And I love my extract. These are like so fun. But I don't use these. This is not just for me. These are my Christmas gifts. And I don't give just little bottles. I give big bottles. You know, I give much larger quantities. And I like the taller, thinner bottles so that I can actually put beans in them as well. So that way I can gift the beans, because that is one of the fun things about vanilla is the beans. And I do need to gift more beans because it's a little bit much that I have, don't you think? Somebody in one of the comments says, why so many beans? Because I'm crazy. I'm a crazy person. So let me see, do we have any other? Oh, I didn't get approved for the food category. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I just tried signing up. I thought I was trying to do a giveaway where I could do, where I could give things away during my lives or things like that, or have contests. And so it led me to the Seller Center. And I do have my business license because I have a website, dishdiddy.com, DITTY, that I've been doing since 2013, putting in my family recipes and just things, you know, food content. And I even have kind of branched off to a little bit of travel content on a travel Diddy site, but that doesn't have much on there. But I wanted to do giveaways, and I couldn't do, it led me to the seller, and so I went through, and I'm still new to all this, and I tried to figure out, and I wound up just signing up, because I'm like, okay, I have to do this. And then now it's really not, I wanted to give away like some, like momofuku noodles, for example. And I thought that's what I was going to be able to do, but no, it's something that I have to add to, like, create a storefront for. So I did do that, but I don't know, like, will I do anything with it and sell anything on there that's mine? I don't know. And I don't know if I can actually sell food. I don't know, and I probably won't, because I don't feel comfortable. I have dogs in the house, and I don't feel comfortable making anything in my home that would then be shipped off to somebody, because I have dogs, and so I would only at that point want to rent a commercial kitchen and do all of the food there in a clean, in a dog-free environment. I just don't feel comfortable with that. I don't think the cottage laws, it depends on the cottage laws in your area, whether or not it makes a difference if you have animals or not. Probably doesn't in some places, it probably does in others. All the cottage laws are different. Some cottage laws, you're not even allowed to make extract. I believe, I can't remember, I think even in California, in the Bay Area, each county has different laws. And so some you can do extract and some you can't. So you can't even sell it. You can do, and what happens with people will do instead, if they can't do the extract, you'll do vanilla powder, possibly you could do vanilla paste, but there's definitely different laws for what you can and can't do. I think the sourdough starter, I think everybody can do that. It's more along the lines of food safety. Like a lot of the cottage laws won't let you do things that are milk-based, or, you know, different. You can't sell yogurt. Like making your own yogurt is super easy and simple, and it's a nice healthy way to do it. But I don't think you can make and sell yogurt in most cottage laws. They do things are based off of what has the most potential, and I don't know why vanilla extract. I think it's more because it's an alcohol. It is truly alcohol, right? So at this point, and you want to make sure you use 35%, 40% alcohol. You don't want to have, 70 proof is what you want to be looking for, or higher. You don't want to go too high. Oh, the other thing I should say is there's a lot of people will say use Everclear, but you have to cut the Everclear in half. You have to do half Everclear and half water, because it will burn your beans and you will not be able to get extract out of it. It will actually dry them up instead of extracting the flavor. So if you're doing like 151, Everclear, any of those super high proof, you have to add water. Bring it down to under 100 proof or less. Between 70 to 100 proof is kind of the sweet spot. Anything much over than that, you're going to wind up with, thank you for the hearts, whoever's hearting. I really appreciate heart. I love that. You're going to wind up with not extract. You're going to wind up with some dried up beans and a flavorless alcohol. So just be forewarned. The grain alcohols are fine to use, but I like to think of it more of a quality thing. So I've used, you can see my first start was with Smirnoff, and this bottle's been sitting with me for a while because it actually fits under my counter. Bottle's been sitting with me for a while because it actually fits under my counter. I do Bacardi. I've done Bacardi. Today I did Bacardi and I did some Absolute. But I prefer to do Kirkland France vodka. That's my kind of go-to. And I like Bacardi. And I like the clear because I like to be able to tell like the color, because I'm looking for a specific caramel color. Like this one, you can see it's a little darker in color. I don't know if you can see. You can't see through it, right? It's dark in color. And that's the color I want. That's the color I know that it's good. But if I'm starting with a caramel colored alcohol, it's really, really hard to know that is that from the color of the alcohol or the color of the beans. So that's why I do the clear beans. But I have some tests that I'm doing this time to see whether or not the darker, like a Havana rum, how that one works with it. So I think I am done. Thank you everybody for joining me. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun. Again, if you have any questions, just go on to one of my other posts and comment on those, and I'll try to get back to you quickly. I have a couple bread recipes on there. I will be putting this bread recipe, which is my sourdough, my sandwich bread made from Sourdough+Starter, I believe is in there somewhere. And I try to give you, if I'm going to show you something generally, I'll try to give you what the recipe is if it's not already on. But I will be posting that on my website probably tomorrow after I bake this bread and actually get pictures of it so I can put it in. I think that's it. So thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. And it's nice and sunny here. I feel bad for anybody who's on the East Coast in snow. Maybe I should show you and just make you be jealous of what we have here. I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to unplug these. All right, so maybe I'll just take my phone instead of doing it that way. So I'll go like this. So we're going to go show you the outside of the house. So this is where, this is why we live in California. People bash California all the time. Sorry, this is why we live here. This is what we see. So this is my home. This is what we see. That's my dog, one of my dogs. Snoopy, say hi. He's like, I get outside. So this is where I'm at. And I love my home. So I thank you guys. I hope you had fun with me. And this live will be on my YouTube channel. Look for Dish Ditty, D-I-T-T-Y, on YouTube. And I have all my past lives back there where I have done a lot of other foods and stuff. So have fun. Thank you. Have a great day. And goodbye. Let's see if I can get this turned off. Hold on.